Hello, internet friends, and welcome to episode number 201, the post-BlizzCon special for BlizzCon 2019. I'm your host. My name's Adam K, aka Bay, and if you were here for like the 15 or so minutes of preamble, there are some hashtags that have formed. Stop it. Just calm down. Today's show, of course, yet again. Oh, I got my arm over here. Poof. Thank you very much to the folks over at Wowhead for A, putting up with me, and B, supporting what I do here to keep these shows coming at your faces. Had a lot of fun hanging out with Perculia at the live weekly reset. I actually have this filtered here because I'm going to be bringing up some posts here during the show today. You can actually filter all the Wowhead stuff. They just put out their giant posts about Diablo 4 and World of Warcraft Shadowlands. So if you want all the information you may or may not have missed about BlizzCon, you can have those all sorted for you over on Wowhead, of course. So thank you very much to those that are supporting the show, the stream, and everything in between. I got to make sure I give a big shout out to these nerds and ladies as well. But the show is not about you today, okay? It's about the collective power of the five heads and the jealousy of the lack of hair and compared to this. But back on the show today, yet again, Nobbel. Hello, sir.
Hello. Hi.
There he is. Hi.
How many years been announced? 6? Something like that?
This is the 4th annual.
Yeah, okay, but I've been on your show before the annual started,
Well,
right?
yeah, okay,
So,
fine. You try to pull rank?
Yeah. I
Oh.
was here first, all right? I remember the days where you still had co-host and stuff like that. I remember those days.
That's true. That's true. You have been here for a while. Is that a Charizard mug? Yes.
Yeah, also, update. I no longer use pictures. I now have a mighty Game of Thrones mug.
Oh.
Like I drink and I know things. It's perfect for my size, gifted to me by my guild mistress.
Now, is that a mug that is able to be drank out of that isn't like the WoW mug where you're not supposed to drink out of it because of lead poisoning?
No. Who would make a mug that you're not allowed of? Oh, wait, a WoW mug, you said.
yeah,
Okay.
the WoW mug. It says like don't drink out of it because of lead poisoning potential.
I was actually trying to find it. It's here somewhere.
Yeah, you have it. There's Mike.
Yeah,
Hello, sir. Find it.
Hi. Sorry, I was looking for. Just said I'm looking for something.
Yeah.
Drink out of my Ragnarok statue.
Oh, don't bring that. Oh, first off, I mean, fair enough. Second off, sadness. I ordered mine and then it was canceled on me 3 days before it was supposed to ship, so I didn't get one.
What was cancelled? This was cancelled?
Yeah, the 15th anniversary
that's a
Ragnarok
shame.
statue thing. Yep. Oh, it's definitely a shame.
I'm giving 2 away. Unlock.
I got mine
Oh.
from Blizzard without asking.
Same. I did buy my own, and then they sent me a nice one, so I was pretty happy with that.
I have mine. Oh my! You can't. Yeah, it's in the shadows over there. That's my Rex statue right there. You can't see it. Shame, Bay.
So wait a minute. Let's just double check this again. I have 3 in total, actually, and you have 1 as well, Nobbel.
I got Rag and I had Illidan and Sylvanas.
Oh, we have
And
like
Bay?
6 statues. And Bay, how many did you have again?
Bay.
I have the
Okay.
M&M guy from your wife.
Oh.
And right away with the wife card. Wow.
Hey, if all you got out of it was an M&M guy, I'm fine.
Yeah, I guess so. Crap. All right. For those that may or may not know who the heck the two of you are, Mike, what do you do on the internet? Plug all the things and say your piece so Nobbel can say his.
I'm just a content creator, that's all. Do YouTube and Twitch and hopefully teach some people to try and get into raiding. I think it's the best thing. That's basically what I do.
All right.
And then play other games on stream. I don't really play World of Warcraft on stream.
It's true. It's definitely true.
I thought you were gonna say I just don't play WoW at all anymore.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
I
just
got a
teach
Thunder Fury
people.
binding today. Yes.
Yeah, you did. I saw the tweet,
Classic.
Gretz.
I did. I did get the Thunder Fury binding. I'm very happy.
Granted, you're not gonna get the other one for like a year.
Well, I don't know. That we have our other tank already has both. So this is our 3rd binding already. So hopefully that luck streak continues just for 1 more drop. That would be really nice.
All right, Nobbel, who the hell are you?
I'm Nobbel. or Nobbel, and I try to teach people about the story behind Warcraft. I've been doing so for many, many years now. Every Monday, brand new video. We also cover Diablo these days, and I got Hearthstone videos. I also occasionally stream. I do play WoW on stream most of the times. Sometimes dabble in other games. Not as much as Mike, though.
I bet the Diablo story is really good. I'm actually really interested in that.
Yeah,
I was actually
when
really
did you
happy
start
about
that?
it. The 31st of October, Halloween, was the first episode we actually did. It's me and a guildie, Naveria, so we're doing it together. And I was happy about it because we covered like the origin story of the Nephilim and all that. And in the introduction cinematic for Diablo 4, the lady that comes down, we were just doing a video on it. I was like, I know who that is. So
Lilith.
Wait, what? What?
Yeah, that's kind of my reaction during that thing.
Okay.
It was really cool to see. And at first I was watching the cinematic. I was like, this is going to be mobile, ain't it? People are going to be so upset if this is mobile. Well, thankfully, Diablo 4.
Dude.
Well, actually, we were sat next to, I think me and Babe were sat next to each other during the opening ceremony. Our
Correct.
Diablo 4 video cut out, so we didn't get to see like a bit of it.
The main stage, the mythic stage, like when they opened the door and the whole like opening the door crazy sequence, it cut out and went to like a blue desktop screen. So I was totally waiting. I don't even know if I've seen any of these yet, but I'm waiting for like the Photoshops because you just key out the blue screen and like put whatever you want on there now. But I haven't seen any crazy Photoshops yet. But yeah, the mythic stage cut out
I
for
don't
like
think
a
the
solid.
stream saw it. It was just our stage.
Just
so
the stage.
I don't think that's going to happen. All the other stages like didn't get that at all because they were like, "Oh, what did you think?" I was like, "Well, we missed a third of it. We could hear the sound, and it sounded like." And that was the memes. Like no one was angry. Everyone was laughing and going, "This game sounds really good." And then by the end of it, though, a lot of people thought it wasn't Diablo because it looked like it was going in a different direction, and I was hopeful for that as well. As a non-Diablo fan, I was like, this could be like an over-the-shoulder Dark Souls type game. That would be really cool.
Well, until like the pentagram and the upside down death and the blood, and you were like, oh, it's Diablo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Warning signs
For a while
everywhere,
there,
like,
it could have been something else.
Yeah.
keep your kids away. I was hoping that it's going to be the Warcraft cinematic that was going to be so gruesome, but apparently Diablo. Yes, what are you pointing at?
Pointing at Gorek in chat. Get your lips done, Florida boy.
Never gonna let it die.
Never gonna let it die. All right, enough faffing about. This is video game coming out soon. Well, like a year from now. We don't know.
A long way away, yeah.
So
Pokemon Sword and Shield. I too am excited.
Which has a lot of controversy behind it. I would like to talk to you about that as well.
They become really big in the game, and you can't capture all of them, even though the catchphrase is "gotta catch them all." What do you think about that, Bay? Since you're such a Pokemon fan.
So Shadowlands. I guess the big thing here is, so Mike and I have made some content about this already. So I mean, shameless plug. We did have the chance to sit down with Ian and Steve. The interview is already online if you missed it. Sorry about the kind of scuffed audio, but I got you a 28-minute interview out of 30 minutes of available time. Then Mike and I sat down afterwards, talked about our initial thoughts like right after the fact, and then I sat down with Word Up Senpai as well and went over things. So those are online. And then there was the pre-BlizzCon special with Hazel and Mr. GM going over some potentials. But so Mike and I kind of have our thoughts already out there. But I want to know, Nobbel, what's your, because you were live streaming and like restreaming and like reacting to it live with your stream.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to like absorb that. I don't know if everyone here also did. So elevator feelings pitch about Shadowlands. What do you think about what's revealed so far?
What revealed so far? Story-wise, I'm intrigued. Story-wise, it definitely has potential. Gameplay-wise, the deep dive felt more like stepping into a little puddle. I felt like they could, there was a lot more that would have been announced. When one of your key selling points is for bringing back abilities that we removed previously from the game, it's But then again, the tower, if done right, sounds really, really cool. The leveling squish is something that could bring in new flesh for the game, which would be really nice. And Covenants could be really cool as well. But keyword is could, of course. It's BlizzCon. All you really hear is like, this is what we got in mind, this is what we want to do. And we'll have to wait for the execution. But so far, I am hopeful. Hopeful for the potential, yeah.
It looks gorgeous. And even in our interview, I had to I danced around kind of asking like the meme way of asking to Steve about how there's actually a YouTube comment that I was looking today when I was prepping for the show that's on like the cinematic trailer for the expansion, like the features trailer. And it was something along the lines of the art team in World of Warcraft is the tank out DPSing all the DPS. because the art team just continues to just blow us away. And that just is attributed to the fact that the artists and the creatives at Blizzard are just ridiculous. But the big thing
and the cinematic team is just stepping it up every year. Every single time they're improving it.
Oh, yeah.
And we can double confirm that because we played Shadowlands there. And it was very bare bones, but we got to walk around Bastion and everybody was in the room was just like, this is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And you can feel that hype rising inside because it has no substance to it yet. It's just the zone. But inside you're thinking, God, this looks so good. You know, you would want to play it from the video. Like you could show the video of the Shadowlands and you're like, I already would buy it. And I have pre-purchased it, obviously, but
same.
Yeah, it's just the art team every time. I mean, because we knew he was going to be in there. We're like, what are we going to ask the art guy? Because obviously I wanted it Ian. It's like a ravenous. I was like a ravenous tiger. Like I want Ian. But like that's what you just brought up there. Which is the first question I asked, and you must be excited a little bit about this novel. Is that Shadowlands isn't in a book somewhere, and it's like the first time and this is what we asked Steve. It's like it's the first time you've been able to go make whatever you want because it doesn't exist yet.
Yep.
Whereas everything else that they've ever made already has been described somewhere, and they can have fun with it, but they've still got to kind of work it around what's existed in the past.
Yes and no. I mean, Mr. Pandaria is a great example of when they took a concept which had very bare bones. Like Mr. Pandaria with the Pandaren was Chen Storm's out of Warcraft 3 and a couple of Pandaren cameos, and they ran with it. They designed a whole new continent, new lore, new races, new backgrounds. And in the case of Shadowlands, it's similar. We know about the Shadowlands. We partied in the Shadowlands before. We touched upon it. But now we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to build upon, this is what you know, but these are actually the details behind it. These are the different zones, the different sections. And that, from the preview, looks really, really cool. The Bastion bit, by the way, did it remind you a lot of the Halls of Valor, or did it feel unique to play through?
No, it didn't feel like Halls of Valor at all, actually. It felt much more like... it was actually a completely new... I can't compare it to another Warcraft zone, if I'm being honest. It felt a little bit like a part of Argus. I think it was Macquarie, where you start there, but much more serene, much more... It was very soft and gentle. It was the idea of the zone. With a lot of... I don't know if a lot of people saw just how much of Bastion is floating. There's a lot of big floating areas, which I'm hoping... I mean, we have confirmed now that they're going with Pathfinder again. So they're obviously not really going to be playable areas, at least till later in the expansion, which what I was hoping for. I thought it was going to be like, okay, there's playable areas for capped characters up there, and they're going to let us do flying early on and use this area to get capped people doing, you know, end game stuff in the same zones. But that doesn't seem to be the case, which is unfortunate because looking at the flying cities above was really cool because I was like, oh, we're going to get to go up there and do things, but that seems like it's going to be later. But you can see that it's very soft and very like whitewashed in a lot of areas, but a lot of transparent creatures flowing around, very translucent stuff that made it give a real gentle, soft, cloudy feel to it. But it was absolutely gorgeous. A lot of detail, a lot of crazy detail going on with each mob. Again, the art team just outdoing themselves every step of the way.
That was what Steve sort of commented on too, and I wanted to like just jump in and say that it's not like we know about these bubbles, and that was what Steve sort of said is that the game directing just came from like, can you do this? Because we know about these realms that have existed now, and we know now that there's sort of more around us than just Azeroth, right? We've been to a couple of different places, but all of these exist in like the extended WoW world, but we've never actually ever seen it. So essentially all of these new areas, all the new 5 zones essentially, are just plucked from their imaginations now and created because we've never seen them before. We've seen some fantastical stuff in World of Warcraft before, but I'm with Mike on this one. I mean, some of these images, I don't think we ever expected to see areas like this in World of Warcraft before.
Well, when I looked at the presentation, like the Fae area looks a lot like Draenor Shadowmoon Valley. The Spirit area that we talked about has a hint of Halls of Valor in there. Like, I'm not saying that it's not unique or anything. Of course, you can experience through it. But when I looked at it, I was like, I remember those zones. There was also a little bit of Spires of Arak in there. Like this picture that you're showing right now. Very much Shadowmoon Valley, I know.
Yeah. I think there's some inspirational points pulled from real world locations, because obviously then you get into like the Necrolords area, and it's very like Western Plaguelands, Northrend, yeah. So there are hints. But I think it's almost like this is like the undistilled. Like when we get it into Azeroth, it's kind of like filtered, and it's almost like a tiny bit. But this is just like take those tiny pieces and then make the entire zone of it and embellish it, right?
Well, I'm very happy to hear that you're mentioning like it does feel unique to play through. That's one of the things I was worried about, but that's very, very nice.
It did, yeah. So they had us kind of cornered off to certain areres. So
yeah, of course.
Like Bay said, and the hint we got from the guys was like, we are so early in development, it's crazy.
Yep.
Like we are so early in development. It's like, okay. And so they had us cornered to certain areas, but as most of the streams saw, is everything is there. It didn't feel like a copy, and I think I would pick up on that really quickly because I've been quite outspoken about them just copying areas, which they've been doing recently, and it did feel entirely brand new. But the other point is, what about the antagonist? Because this isn't somebody who's got lore behind them. Like, how has that been for you as a lore guy? Like, I don't know about this guy.
Dude, I'm very happy about it because like the antagonist, at least we'll have to see if this is going to be the proper end boss or whatnot. But we're talking about the jailer.
Yes.
That's the guy that's behind Sylvanas in those end scenes. And the moment that he showed up, people were wondering, like, who is this being? Is it perhaps Argus, Death Incarnate? Is it perhaps Arthas himself with, like, the Crown of Lordaeron? Is this a being that we know of? And they've said in the interview, like, the jailer is something that you're not familiar with. It's a new creature, which opens up the realm of, okay, what is going on here? How long has this existed? What has he been doing? What is his plan with Sylvanas? How is their relationship? Yeah, it's amazing. It's really cool that they can build up so much on this. Yeah. Not to mention, like, we're going into the Shadowlands. Anything that we dealt with in the past, hero and villain, they could just bring back and be like, hey, remember this? That's cool.
I already have.
Matrix 5.
I have a £1 bet already running that this is the Arthas Redemption expansion.
Oh, God, I think so.
Not.
I think so. Like, especially because they immediately shot that down when someone asked, "Is Arthas going to be there?" Like, no. And I was like,
it is so bullshit.
Totally
like,
there.
No,
he's totally
Arthas
there.
Dead in the Shadowlands where everything is dead. Like, what? What?
I just have this feeling is like as soon as because you'll see, I've done a video on Shadowlands that's not out yet. I've been editing it all day, but I've had a chance. But it felt like the Burning Crusade, and when I mentioned to Ian about it being the Burning Crusade and all that stuff, he gave this like cheeky smile about that's kind of where they're going. But so hopefully not Illidan, but I feel like it's an Arthas thing. But I don't know enough about the lore to really shoot that down. But my gut instinct was this is an Arthas thing.
Well, I really hope that they're not going to, because Arthas is one of those examples where they've done the story right, start to finish. Everybody likes the Lich King story, or nearly everybody. Bringing it back, altering it, what else can you do but muck it up, right? Like, what more can you add to it if people are already happy with it?
Yeah.
So a whole redemption story, I don't know if I'd be down with that, to be honest.
But what about the Jaina triangle, baby? The Jaina love.
Jaina has Caligos these days. She doesn't.
No, she doesn't. They broke up. They broke up in Warlords.
No, she's been busy. They can go
oh, shut up.
No, she found Kalec browsing Tinder, dude. That story is done, bro.
Well, then she has Thrall. I mean, we all saw how she touched his arm and how she looked back at him during the funeral. Yes. Validation. Yeah, have you seen them? Have you seen them? No. He came back to Azeroth. Nobody mentions his wife or kids. He murdered them back then. And that's why I was so surprised that Sourfang showed up and he was like, we got to get the hell out of here.
Green Jesus killed his kid?
And now we're going to find him in the Shadowlands and he has to go like, oh no, I'm busted.
That is shocking.
That's the redemption story.
That's shocking. I can't believe Thrall would do that.
He hit the murder weapon and then he uncovered it again, that cinematic, and pretended like it was the first time that he saw it. But it was literally blood dripping off of it, so you know.
You're just trying to spread rumors to make Reddit threads about you, aren't you?
God, please, not again.
Who do you want to see, though? Seriously, like, obviously they are absolutely using this to bring people. Oh, well, Broxagar's not dead. They confirmed that, right? Not Broxagar. I'm thinking of the other guy. So Broxagar, the guy who took the helmet off, he's not dead. He's still
Bolvar. No.
Bolvar. I mean, he's going to be like a key feature. Like, he's going to be an NPC we talk to.
He's a wimp, though. He's AFK 3 years and got smashed.
Well,
dude,
who wants him on the team?
Sylvanas has totally been cheating, getting a Covenant before the rest of us. She's already been working on upgrades.
He's benched.
He's benched.
I don't know. His gear's too cool to bench him, man. Come on.
Yeah, he quite literally has like an in-game like model render now of this, like what it looks like based on the key art. So he's gonna be an NPC we deal with and actually talk to.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a guide through the Shadowlands or something like that.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to be a key part in that. And Bolvar's interesting because Bolvar died at the Wrath Gate, and then he got back with the Dragon Flames from Alexstrasza. But a whole bunch of people died there, so you kind of have to wonder, like, why did Bolvar specifically come back, right? Like, was it just him and not everybody else? Did Alexstrasza anticipate? Did she know there must always be a Lich King? Not to mention the whole connection to the Damnation gear. We're apparently going to party with like the blacksmith who created Frostmourne and the Damnation armor. So we're going to find out more there. Yeah, or at least Damnation armor. I'm not sure about Frostmourne, but I'm 100% sure about the Damnation armor. So we're going to learn more about the history there. And, you know, the connection to the jailer. When Sylvanas walks up to Icecrown in the cinematic, she mentions that there's a usurper on the throne. Which, of course, a little bit about throwing a curveball. Like, is she going to become the Lich Queen? Is she going to dethrone Bolvar? But no. There's the jailer. Does that mean that the jailer is supposed to be, in her mind, like the jailer of the damned?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, though, just taking it out a little bit, is everybody, all the way leading up to the first day of BlizzCon, we were there a couple of days earlier, partying and meeting a lot of the people who were already there. And everybody knew about the Shadowlands coming because, you know, the leaked art of Bolvar, everybody knew what was happening. And the whole discussion was about Lich King 2.0. That's what it's going to be. Similar to Diablo 4. Like, there was no surprises there that Diablo 4 was going to be there. And then everybody in the room was watching the Shadowlands cinematic, like, oh yeah, okay, we're at Icecrown, so it is going to be like Lich King 2.0. Until she cracked the crown, and then you could see that Blizzard had totally leaked that image on purpose, and they all just went,
Yeah.
As it split off into the actual Shadowlands, because as soon as the sky cracked, the whole room went, what? Wait a minute, no. Because they built up the whole story, as Sylvanas is going to get the helm, she's going to stick it on, they were all like really expecting for it, and then she broke it in half, and it was so well timed, there is no way that wasn't a marketing ploy, and it was genius. It was absolute genius to be a part in the room when that happened, because the whole room went, no, this is not what we were expecting at all, but it's cooler. That was amazing.
These HD images are brilliant, though. My God.
They're so good.
Oh, they have the full renders are ridiculous. It's all on the actual website. It's insane. And then the other one I just showed was the Game Informer like cover art for their coverage of BlizzCon 2019. It's absolutely ridiculous, the art that's coming out of this, which again, the art team, yet again.
Her lips have no reason to be perfect. Sea-Base, she has nice lips. You could have nice lips.
Come on!
Well, you saw the voice actress panel, right?
Oh, I went back and watched it. Yeah.
It was the best panel I went to, and I got to it purely by accident.
Yeah.
Is that it was on before the either the deep dive or the what's next panel for WoW. So I managed to get to the stage about half an hour early because it was quiet in the morning because I think it was day 2. And nobody gets up early for day 2 of BlizzCon because everything kind of happens day 1. So day 2, I kind of strolled in. I got my seat in the media area and I was chilling. And I was like, oh, what's this? And it's like the voice actors and stuff. And they were on a couch. And they're like, oh, we're going to reenact it. I was like, oh, God, this is going to be really cringe. Actually nearly cried. I was like, this is incredible.
It was so good.
It was incredible. And I think I was sat next to like Zyronic and Bajira, and everyone was like, this is so good. I know. And it was better than watching the actual cutscene for me. Like, I watched the cutscene and it seemed really cheesy, but the live version was so much better. It was that room, again, just being in the room, because nearly everybody was crying, especially when she said the traitors walking with traitors line, because she hid backstage before she came out. The whole room was like, oh my God, like, what's going to happen? You know, like, people were still surprised.
But everybody at home as well loved that panel. Like, that is one of the most well-received panels. It's amazing.
Yeah, my phone was going crazy because everyone was watching it. And I was like, I have the best seat in the house right now. Like, you know, I literally have the best seat in the house while I'm watching this.
So let's bring it back a little bit then. So then the two sides of this that everyone wants to know from the content creator angle, and this is sort of what part of our job is, and we share our thoughts and opinions because we distill all this through our communities and we sponge it up from YouTube comments or Reddit threads, or Mike is the most daring of all of us and like reads a bunch of forums and actually digs through things, and actually it's part of what you do is you just read and read and read and page and page and page. So what are we most looking forward to, anticipating, and what are you most dreading and not sure about then? Mike, you've had, obviously we always do the post-BlizzCon show, but a week after we get back home, we get to like sponge up all this stuff. So what's your back and forth? What's your yin and yang on this? Your black and white so far in Shadowlands? The
thing I'm most looking forward to this time is, based on everything we know, because there'll probably be other things. I would like to talk about gearing and things like that, but we don't know about it. Blizzard also doesn't know about it.
Right.
Like, that wasn't a lie. Because people are like, they do know. I've heard that over the last few days when I've told people they don't know. And I'm going, no. They really don't know. They have no idea how this is going to work. But so far, the tower looks like it could be something I would absolutely not mind doing each week. And I like the fact that the reward is a crafted legendary, because I can already kind of see what the direction they're going to go with that, which is very similar to Classic, which is like I might want to build like a very offensive legendary, a defensive legendary, a Mythic Plus legendary. And if it goes down that road where I'm actually doing this for something I actually want, and I'm doing myself out of a choice, that would be great. That would be really fun. And I'd be so into that. And especially because it can be done in a group. As much as I love the Mage Tower is a one-done thing. This looks like something where you can go for a long time, and it gets harder and harder, which I love in WoW. Like, the more difficult, the better, as long as it's doable. And my friends are the same. So getting in a group on a Saturday and being like, are we going to rock Torghast on Saturday? Perfect. Like, that's my thing, because I want something out of it. I'm not forced to get it after a certain amount of time, because I'll have whatever the first reward is. So Torghast is definitely something I'm looking forward to. The biggest thing I'm dreading is, just because of uncertainty, is the Covenant system. I am terrified of what's going to come out of that. Looking at it now, I have this. I can't stop thinking about what happened with Azerite armor, where there's like 250 traits, and 3 of them are good, and the Covenant system being similar, where there's loads of traits and they're doing this horizontal progression, but for some reason, a couple of them are crazily out of whack, like they did, because we have historical precedent where they did do that with the Azerite armor, where it's like overwhelming power is just obscenely good compared to everything else, right? And therefore, we don't have a choice of what Covenant to go. And then they'll do the horrible thing is like balance it, and then suddenly they'll crush one, and now for some reason, one in a different Covenant is supremely better. And we're all now stuck with a system where it's not hard to swap. Where it's not easy to swap, I should say. So now we're like, well, we kind of all have to go to the Bastion Covenant now, because that one's just ridiculously good for some reason. Because even after all this time, they still haven't managed to balance the Azerite traits. And it's hard for me to get over the pessimism that they're going to somehow get it right the next time, because historically they haven't. And now the Crucible was that way. There was significantly better traits than other ones. And that's what really puts the fear in me, especially as Ironic said from Limit, is like, I can already foresee us having to make 5 mages, 1 in each Covenant, because that's what we'll need to deal with this.
Oh no, yeah.
That was his immediate feedback from the guild. Limit were like, we're going to need something, because they said there's 4 Covenants, but there was like, and the more, ? Which I kind of take there'll be a 5th. Even if there isn't, it doesn't matter. So they'll need multiple characters to combat that, because they'll just have some trait that just does 3 or 4 times more damage or whatever than something else. And as a raider, that sucks, because I want to be a vampire boy. As I told Bay on the stage, like, I want the vampire wings. Like, I don't care too much about the aesthetic, but I want the vampire stuff.
You didn't just tell me. All right, so I'm going to set the stage for your all pick here, chat. I'm standing up. We're both on the media deck in the Mythic stage. And Mike is sitting on the chair next to me. Arms crossed, just doing his mic, just watching the screens, looking over, trying to get past the, looking at what that's going on. And like the first 3 Covenants come out, and I just look over him. He's like, I'm like, oh, you do this one? He's like, and then the Castlevania vampire boy scene comes up. And I look over at Mike, and he leans back and goes,
I want Rondo of Blood music playing as I walk through that zone. That's what I want in my life.
Yeah.
But that's all. Yeah, as much as I don't care about aesthetics, I would still prefer, if I have to pick one of 4, there's still a way I'd prefer to go. Right? I'd rather that than sort of the paladin looking thing, because the wings are an amazing system. And the fact they're going more cosmetic this time is so good. We've been asking for that for so long. Stop making us super powerful all the time. We don't need it. Right? Cosmetics need to be more something we chase, because people like that. And even I wouldn't mind doing that. As long as my required shit is done relatively early, I'll happily spend some time chasing some cosmetic stuff. But I'm very worried about the Covenant system. Very worried.
So to end cap that for you, Mike, you are very Revendreth is going to be your Covenant of choice. That's where you're.
I don't know what
aiming.
it's called. It's the Vampire Boys.
It's Revendreth. Yeah.
Castlevania area.
The Castlevania one.
Castlevania area.
I'm in.
Yeah. So that's for you. And then.
But you can tell during the presentation, they got so excited about talking about the raid as well. They were like, yeah, we just went Castlevania. We went Dracula and stuff like that. It's like, okay.
That's my jam, man. I'm a Castlevania boy.
So then I'm going to flip the same question to you, Nobbel, but opening with the end. So what is your current Covenant you're looking at for your paladin? For your main?
Well, Mike stole all my answers. It's not fair. We're on the same page. I too am a big fan of the vampire boys. Also because that will allow me to walk this scorched land where the light like pierces it, and Killfuss is hanging in a cage or a cross somewhere.
Yikes.
I can just wave at Killfuss and be like, "Hi, buddy, you doing good? Merely a setback, huh?" And then I can just walk on. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, this is the one screenshot we have from the zone so far. It looks, I don't know if anything else in World of Warcraft looks like this.
It looks a bit like parts of Frostfire Ridge.
Yeah, but I sure? But there's no lava, there's no snow. It's just this, it has a very, to me, it has a very like Warhammer 40,000 feel.
I don't care what the zone looks like. I just want wings.
Okay, fine.
Looks nice, but for me, I'm gonna be partying with all the covenants, of course. I need to see all the story, man. Easy. I want to know it all.
Yeah, that feels like an alt thing. Like an alt thing, you could do that. Like for me, that would be an alt thing.
Hopefully, it's gonna be like the Order Halls. Like I had an absolute blast in Legion, going through every single artifact weapon, every single Order Hall campaign, every single mount quest, and follower quest. I would love to see that make a return in the form of covenants.
Well, remember they said that alts this time, Nobbel, will start their covenants as soon as they're level 50. Once you've done
you're gonna work towards endgame.
Yeah, you don't need to like recap to do it. You can just go straight in. So that's a really cool touch. Is like, no, the covenant stuff. I'm sure the story will require you to cap. I'm not that deluded. I'm sure you can't do the story at like 50 to 51 or something like that. But it's nice that you don't have to wait till endgame to get the interesting bit that you're after out of the way.
Yeah, but I like the base building from Suramar. I like the Order Halls. I like building up your own sanctuary and your own faction away from the faction war, right? You're playing with these. This is your covenants. And who knows what characters they're going to put up there as your leaders. Like Kel'Thuzad, for example, might make an appearance. And all these other beautiful beings that you could ally with, which could play a big part. And like you mentioned, the mod, it did like little hint over there. Like there isn't a covenant right now, wink, wink.
Right.
So who knows how that's going to play out. And this is just the initial presentation. Don't forget that they said they're like infinite realms in the Shadowlands. Where is it going to take us after the initial patch, ain't it?
That is, that's part of the features trailer. It says like, it's like Blizzard says infinite realms in Shadowlands also releases only 5 new zones. Right. So, but obviously that's going to be one thing they can just plop in a new realm as a content patch, right? And that's sort of how we're sort of used to this. Every single expansion now is like, hey, there are new islands. There's some new island here, and there's 2 new islands, or there's 1 new island, or your next patch is a new island, or it's a planet, but it's really just an island with a load screen. It's like a part of a planet load. So we're used to that. But I do wonder.
You can rejoice, though. There are no new islands.
Yet.
They took that island outside and they put a bullet in it. Right next to the war fronts, there are 2 corpses lying outside the Blizzard office.
I'm gonna bring up that.
You gotta get her anime though. You gotta go Anime Island and get her all the anime for your covenant.
Oh,
you're not done.
So ready for the power of anime.
Well, like that was our first question, I think, to Ian. Was like, what is anime though? Because we were on the stage and he's mentioned anime, and I just went, oh no. Oh no. And the first question he answered was like, no, it's not going to be like that at all. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Okay.
Thank God. It'll be a very short weekly cap for the required part of it, but very easy to get, like Valor points. But you can then, that's probably how you get your wings, honestly, is you can continue to farm anima to get the cosmetic and non-power related rewards. So it's like, there's 2 parts of it. There's the required part, which is easy to get, and then everything you farm after that is towards something else, if you choose to do it. So very happy to hear that. Very, very happy.
So Mike was stealing a bit of your thunder, though, Nobbel. But yeah, so what are you most looking forward to, anticipating, or not sure about? You kind of started, but what's your
sorry. Like for me, the tower sounds amazing on paper, but the island sounded quite awesome on paper as well until we saw them in practice. So I feel like it can be one of those major features that they can rock on in that expansion and people will gravitate to, like the Mage Tower, which was awesomely done as well, in my opinion. Or it can fail, and we can only know when it's beta time and we can test it. So it's a step away from Mike's answers. I think I'll have to go with like the Maw area. That sounded really interesting. An endgame area where the zone itself becomes harder the more time you spend in there.
Yeah.
I'm quite looking forward to something to do at endgame, because I kind of feel that the path of progression has been shortened in such a way that there isn't a whole lot of reason to constantly log on. And I'm a big fan of playing multiple days. So I'm hoping that the Maw is going to offer some interesting stuff in that regard, especially as you fight your way to the tower. Like Mike said, like Covenants and Towers is, of course, my major thing. But the list of things that we can get excited about isn't that big this time around. So I'll go with Maw. I'll go with the Maw.
That's the weird part about that zone, is that Blizzard has tried doing end game style zones or areas of zones before, and they still just get phased out. So once you get some raid gear under your wings, and once the first tier of the expansion's done, it's like the area in Shatrath and Worlds of Draenor or Tanan Jungle, or even like some areas of Argus. It's full of elites, but you're still like, yeah, I'm going to pull 7 of them and still kill them all because I'm a, a super overpowered mass murdering genocidal maniac, like what Mike says. And it's like, it's not scary. So is the Maw going to be scary? I can imagine like never flying there. We'll unlock flying on the other zones, but no flying in the Maw, I imagine. So, but is it going to be like hard and challenging and fun? Or is it going to be like, okay, we got to go to Torghast, but there's like one path you take because the easiest way to go to avoid all the garbage is because it's super annoying to get there. And is it be like a annoyance or a fun challenge? Because we don't know.
Well, there'll be 2 questions with it, right? Because we know how it works. The longer you're there, the more enemies approach you, the bigger your AoE radius is for aggroing things. So the question is, 1, does that mean it's just time gated? Like, it doesn't ever really hit a point where you get kicked out. You just get overwhelmed and therefore you die, which means you have to leave, right? Because there's no spirit reser there. You just get kicked out of the Maw. Does that reset when you leave? In which case you got kicked out, you just start the Maw again. And you just go, it's just this never-ending cycle of going in there and grinding, essentially, because it just sounds like mobs and mobs. It sounds like a mechagon that just keeps spamming you. If you look at it from that perspective, I'm not saying it is like that, but those would be my fears of the Maw, is it's just a time-gated zone. You can maybe spend, and you have to wait till the day reset before you can go back in. Otherwise, you're debuffed, meaning that as soon as you go there, you just get absolutely swamped, and that's it. You can't do anything. Or is it the other way around, which is as soon as you go out, you just start it again? And then the question would be, is there just a really important resource that we have to keep getting from there? So it's actually worthwhile farming and farming and farming and farming over and over again, which would be the lamest way it could come out, rather than what we hope it's going to be, which is a useful, interesting place. And hopefully it does work with these caps of things that we get. They talked about having resource caps now that are attainable, and therefore spam farming it's not worthwhile. So it could go the other way. That would be my fear of the Maw, is it's just time gated, and eventually you just get kicked out, you debuffed, you can't do anymore. Like, okay.
But imagine you gotta go through the Maw in order to get to the tower, right? So they can't really kick you out for the day, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, whether they can have some sort of summon system, or they might even put in some sort of travel to there eventually, or after you've done a certain amount of Torghast, you can travel directly there. Whatever the system will be, that remains to be seen. Or is it somewhere I want to be, and I can't go back in anymore. Like, I'm done for the day. But the feeling is I want to, but I can't. That's what they've got to try and hit, in my opinion. Is I want to be there. The more it's cool.
Yeah, and like a zone with a bit of bite to it is something that it really needs. I felt this especially in Battle for Azeroth as well, where, like you said, you just ruffle stomp everything. I don't think it's a bad idea to just feel like you need to gear up before you get anywhere. Again,
no, I mean, especially if you have any amount of gear. It's been my problem for a while, but I've always accepted it as like the mythic tax is what we call it, right?
Yep.
And that is if you play, the mythic tax is a very real thing. We had it really bad in BFA, but every time a new zone comes out, like Najatara and Mechagon, for example, they're designed for somebody who just reached level 120. Which means if you're currently playing the game, you go in like I said to Ian, it's like you're the black cloud of death. Like with the necromongers, from Riddick's story, like people should be afraid that they've actually made contact with us because we're about to come and destroy you on day 1, which is what happened with Najatara and Mechagon. We walked in and just AoE pulled the whole place and eradicated it, which doesn't feel good. It's not interesting. It's not engaging. I want to do more there. And hopefully they are doing something about that, because we haven't got an end game. We get world quests for about a month, like Bay said, and then you're like 340 plus. World quests don't mean anything anymore. But you still need to do them, so you're just endlessly sort of repeating Mario level 1-1 over and over again, which is it's not that fun, right? After a while, I know some people find it fun, but there's plenty of us who don't really want to play that way. So I'm hoping they are addressing that. It sounds like they are. So if they are, I mean, I have this built-in pessimism at the moment, which is something I probably need to get over, because everything sounds really good, but again, we haven't got the details. So until we get the details, I'm not gonna go too far.
I think a lot of people have that pessimism right now, though, considering the expansion that we just played through.
Well, it's like an end cap to that. I brought this up even last night. 2 years ago, when BFA was announced, because we were at that point in Legion when we're like, okay, we're ready for new stuff. We had dealt with the nonsense artifact system and the AP grind and the legendary RNG and whatever else of that expansion. Ready for new things. So we saw BFA come out. We were like, oh, okay. But then 6 weeks, 8 weeks into BFA, we were like, oh, okay.
3 days. It's the alpha.
Well, yeah, okay.
3 days. I have it on record. 3 days into the alpha, I was like, oh no.
So we have to be,
no.
We can be critical of this, but we obviously have to like maintain that optimistic, pessimistic kind of balance because some good things could be happening. We know that, as Mike said before, and we don't have a way to do this, and there's more on this in the next sections. I don't want to get too far ahead of it. Gearing essentially right now is being live beta tested. The corrupted gear we're about to get in 8.3, and the feedback Blizzard gets determines how gearing will be in 9.0. They have openly been basically like, this is what we're doing. Because they don't want to do, they obviously know that Titan Forging, War Forging, eye level, something they're going to go away from because the community has talked about it for so damn long, we hate it. But they still want gear to have something. And that something is... But
yeah, they've not figured it out yet. I'm not sure corruption is the way to go. It's a big topic of discussion, at least in my guild right now. We've been doing a lot of we've started mythic testing now for the new raid. And corruption is just something where we can't really get away with it. Like, you can already see now, it's just not possible to get away with the second tier, which is kind of what Blizzard wants. They don't want you to have the ring, I don't think. It's fine in like normal, maybe some heroic. But once you hit like the second tier of corruption, you're really in a bad way. Certainly in mythic, like it's not really viable. Which means you're kind of like angry at some of the items you get, and you're having to, but maybe you're having to think about it. So we're gonna have to see in practice how it works. Exciting, you know, I'm not leaning to all exciting because the bonuses are like haste and crit damage. You know, it's fine, but it's not super.
The weapons are way more exciting.
Yeah, the weapons have a lot going for them, which might be the way to go, is that they just have interesting weapons. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Whether they decide to go that way. I did put out there in every conversation I've had about Shadowlands is this is real. They are live testing corruption to see the feedback. So give feedback, not just it sucks. Right? And this is to everybody who listens to this. It's really important you tell them, because if you don't, and they're like, okay, people are okay with this, that's what your gear system is going to be in. And then you might go, wait a minute, I didn't really like corruption. So well, you need to tell them. You need to make it clear in a concise way, not just it sucks. I like it. What is it you like about it? Because they're still deciding what to do in Shadowlands. They don't know what to do just yet.
So how come when they were giving feedback on the whole Azerite system, because you guys have been shouting about Azerite being a garbage system, and there's just been no changes to it, with the exception of maybe essences?
Well, they did.
Well, that's not really true.
They basically made it so our problem with Azerite was like the reacquiring of higher eye level and then having to reacquire the same traits you just had. So they basically just nuked that right now, right? The only thing you have to acquire on your Azerite, if you're leveling up your neck, is the +5 eye level, because all of your slots are now just unlocked. That was their way of slapping a fix on it.
In terms of, we have to remember how clear this was. It's actually Bay who reminded me of this while we were at BlizzCon, is why didn't we get, like Nobbel just said, I think this might be where your question was leaning, is like, why didn't, we were given this feedback during the alpha beta process about the Azerite armor and how big of a problem was. The issue we had during alpha beta is that we had no Azerite armor. And they only, and we have to remember this clearly, they only released the Azerite armor for testing 3 days before the game came out live. Like live, not just alpha to beta.
So
we didn't get the Azerite vendors until 3 days before the game came out, which means it's done. It's locked in. There's no feedback we can give in 3 days. It's going to change the entire gearing system of an expansion. So, I mean, the optimist inside me feels that, like, from the conversations we had, not just with Ian, but with the other devs who come and speak to you, off camera, is that there may have been some weird push from high above to get BFA out at a certain time, and it clearly wasn't ready. Remember, we only had a 5-month alpha beta cycle, which was insane. Because that was like, get the game out, get the game out, get the game out. And maybe with BFA's numbers, they're going, this is why we don't do this. We need at least a year or whatever. We need to take our time and go back to what Blizzard was about, which is it's ready when it's ready.
Right.
And if that's the mindset they're in now, that's a really good thing. And we said this in our post interviews, like it might not be out until late 2020 or maybe even early 2021 if they want it to be that way. And that's a good thing, because we don't want BFA again, where they're like, it's got to be out by this date. Have we tested everything? No, but it's got to go because we've already done it. We've set the date. So I'm happy it's taking a long time, because we've known for the past a final tier, 8.3, we've still got 8.35 coming. If it's 12 months, we've lived through worse. You know what I mean? We've been through worse.
Dragon Soul and Siege.
We've been through the Dragon Soul. We've lived that nightmare enough, you know. And we've got Classic on the other side, which is keeping a lot of people moving between, which is kind of what I'm doing, and I know other people are doing the same. It's like, okay, now there's something in Classic, and that tides you over instead of just being like Dragon Soul every week. So I'm fine with it being a long way away. I really am.
What's 8.3.5 about then?
We don't know yet, but there will be. What I mean is there will be an 8.3.5. People are forgetting that there's a big patch coming, like really soon. You know, February, probably
January 7th.
Massive. The Zoth isn't here yet. That's huge. That's still to happen in the retail game. But I understand that a lot of people are like, yeah, but I am so done with BFA. I don't care. Like, I get that mentality, but we do have to remember that Neil Othar is coming soon, you know, and it looks amazing. Everything in the raid looks fantastic, and all the other features that come in, but they aren't great. Horrific Visions aren't amazing. I don't know if you tested them, Nobbel, but they're...
That's where you go into the scenario, right? Where you...
Yeah, we go to Orgrimmar and Stormwind. And,
yeah, I tried those out. They were kind of fun. I can't imagine them doing over and over and over again, but...
Which it looks like you're probably going to need to do, at least in... they're trying to time gate it a little bit by reducing your ability to do them, but...
So it's...
There's still big stuff coming in retail now, but I get that people are like, I don't care. I want rid of BFA.
Let's set the stage for you then, Nobbel, real quick here, because this is one of the questions that I was given that I wanted to put in this middle light to pull us away, because Mike and I can talk systems until blue in the face, and he has another question coming up, but this is the one.
I like system talk these days, by the way.
Yeah,
I find it very interesting. But go ahead, yeah?
So, to go back to what Steve Aguilar, the assistant director of art with World of Warcraft, spoke of the interview with me and Mike. Shadowlands is a bit of a departure from what we know about World of Warcraft so far, due to the devs wanting to basically fill in the blanks towards the other realms outside of Azeroth. You know, those other bubbles in that giant chronicle, you know, elemental plane sheet thing. So we've been to Draenor, we've been to Outland, we've been to Argus, and even the portal worlds that Argus was connected to through those, you know, daily quests. So what makes the Shadowlands different in your lore eyes, though? Because you have the Encyclopedia World Craftica in your head. So what makes this different for you?
Well, we touched upon it earlier, which is, of course, they have the freedom to go wherever they want. Like Argus and Draenor and all the other planets, they are planets, right? Whereas the Shadowlands is like its own domain, its own reality. And we're going to get a taste of this in 8.3 as well, whereas Ny'alotha is going to come to Azeroth. That's also its own domain, its own realm.
Right.
Now we're going to venture into the Shadowlands. And the potential with the Shadowlands, like they mentioned, we have touched upon the Shadowlands before. We send Death Knight followers into the Shadowlands. We die and we get a touch of it. We have heard about this realm time and time again. But what exactly is going down in there? And now we're going to get a lot more details about what does it mean to die in the Warcraft universe. And apparently there's an arbiter who's going to judge your soul and send you where you belong. And then there's 1,000,001 different realities where you can belong. If you're somebody that's died in service and you're like honor and virtue and all that, you might hang out with Uther. Or if you're somebody who is prideful, you might hang out in a cage with Kil'Thas. Or if you're irredeemable, you might hang out in a mall with presumably Arthas and Sylvanas. That's the beauty of the Shadowlands, as well as because this is the realm where everything dies goes. The realm of possibility is nearly endless. Think about the entire cast list of characters that have died in the past, be it heroes, be it villains. Think about your favorite character that's no longer there. They might actually show up in the Shadowlands again. And they jokingly already mentioned Mankrik's wife, that classic meme quest. She's actually going to show up as a little cameo. They might not all have full-blown stories, but at least they'll make a cameo. I've also heard a lot of people say Galagrond. And Galagrond was this massive proto-dragon back in the day, which caused the creation of the dragon aspects. Imagine the massive corpse of Galagrond somewhere in the distance, and the sun sets on it, or, you know, Shadowlands sun, or whatever you want to call it. And you see it like in the distance. There's so many cameos and so much potential they can work with here. That's what got me excited about the Shadowlands. Not to mention we get the party with Bolvar again. Bolvar's a beast, looks amazing. So looking forward to that.
Benched.
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 And
Totally benched.
It's really interesting as well, because the whole story thread with Sylvanas goes back to the time where she decided to kill herself. The whole deal with Sylvanas and the Forsaken was when Arthas brought her back, they were all about, let's get vengeance, let's take care of Arthas, right? So they joined the Horde as an alliance of convenience. They got their vengeance at the end of Wrath of the Lich King. And then they had to decide back then, what are we going to do with someone like Sylvanas? Is she going to stick around and be a proud member of the Horde? Is she going to stick around and take care of her people? Nope. Instead, they decided to yeet her off the top of Icecrown and kill herself and end up in that eternal afterlife. Sylvanas was like, this realm of undead, it's eternal torment. Mia Pao is just gifting beautiful subs in between. Delicious.
Yes,
and Sylvanas was like, I'm done. I don't want to go here. I don't want to be here anymore. And for some reason, be it her deeds in life, be it the jailer himself, she did not enjoy that beautiful heavenly afterlife. She ended up in a realm of torment, presumably the Maw. And that's where that connection between Sylvanas and the jailer comes from. And now the question is, like, how long have they been sending these souls to the jailer? How long has he been feasting on anime? Is it as far back as Wrath of the Lich King? Does that mean heroes that died in the Cataclysm, in Draenor and all that, are they also at the jailer? Or is it closer to home, closer to the Fourth War that we saw in Battle for Azeroth, meaning the elves that burn in Teldrassil and Sourfang and all that? And those details are still to be revealed.
Didn't they say the mechanism of death's only been broken recently?
A few years ago.
A few years ago.
It sounds like it was.
Oh, sorry.
No, it sounds like it was like a Legion timeline thing. Like it happened right before Legion or right around that time. So that's why we're going to find out more that Sylvanas even working with Varian was like a farce because she needed to bide her time. Because that's the thing, is that it wasn't confirmed yet, but the power of the Maw has been feeding on, you know, dead souls from Azeroth since like the Burning Crusade, or the Burning Legion came back. And that's why Sylvanas has gotten so much power.
So you mean Legion, yeah?
Yeah, since Legion, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But that's indeed the question. Like, okay, how long? We know exactly when she made contact, but how long have those souls been sent there? We don't know those details. And the part about it being broken is uncertain at this point. It might be Legion. It might be that the death of Argus has something to do with it. Or it might be something else. It might be Sargeras stabbing a planet. Maybe that had an effect on it. Who knows? And that's stuff that we're going to find out. We're going to find out more about the mysteries behind Sylvanas' dealings, because it's not like she's enslaved by the jailer. It's not like she's his prisoner. Someone like Sylvanas has apparently outgrown that kind of business. So what is it that she wants? If you fear the realm of eternal torment, at first her motivation was, I want to stay alive, right? Yep. Her deal with the Valkyr. But now it seems like, okay, if I can't stay alive forever, then maybe I should just dominate hell. Maybe that's an idea. Or maybe her motivation has been like, you know, I know that the afterlife is pretty wacky right now. Like, we might be heroes on Azeroth and we might defeat all these big baddies, but if you die, you know, you're in trouble, so we might as well take care of it right now. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what the story behind all of that is.
Hopefully it's good, right? I mean, I don't mean that in a very childish sense. Imagine the imaginations of the lore guys in particular. I'm not just pointing at Nobbel here, but the guys who were very into the story. This is the issue when we know so little, is that you get the Star Wars effect, right? Which is that, like Snoke, the amount of fan theory and stuff that went into that character. And now we're seeing that with the jailer already. I mean, I checked the WoW subreddit earlier this week, and it was just jailer threads with hundreds and hundreds of comments about what the jailer is, how he's going to work, and all that. And what you don't want is you get there and he's like, no, he's just like a force of death. He's a required thing. There's nothing much more to him. He just manages the Maw. You know, He wears a little name tag. I'm the jailer. This is the Maw. And that's what I do. And thank you for seeing me. And have a good day.
He's Jailer Brian. Yep.
Yeah, he's very polite. What we want is like Nito. Right, we want someone like Nito cruising around with this big backstory, and you know, we want this in-depth lore behind where this character came from. Is that's what we're after. So I hope for your guys' sake, and for my own, because like I said, I was into the story of BFA. It kind of lost me halfway through, but the start I was kind of interested in. But it pulled me out of it with the lack of world aspects. You know, we've had this fleet destroyed, yet you can freely take a boat wherever you want. It's really safe out there. And I was like, really? Can't we do something there? I mean, we did just destroy a fleet, but I'm hoping I'm as into it as hopefully it will be a payoff for you guys.
I mean, the presentation is going to be insane. Like we said, the art team has been stepping it up. And one of the things they mentioned has actually been a wish of mine for a very long time. Like in the olden days, if you track back any storyline in Warcraft, you end up at 3 different sources. It would either be the Burning Legion, it would be the Old Gods, or be the Titans, right? Those were the 3 pillars of Warcraft lore. Any story could be backtracked to those. But we kind of dealt with them. And then the Chronicles came out. And in the Chronicles, they got this chart with all these cosmic forces like light and death and fel and all kinds of business. And they're actually going to explore more about the backgrounds behind these cosmic forces. We got a taste with the Magar recruitment scenario, in which we see that the light is a lot more fearful in the way of Yrl and the alternate Draenei. Now we're going to deal with death and the source behind it. And I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot more big baddies behind a lot more forces in the universe that have been playing around with things and just opening it up for a lot more storytelling.
I think
which is really
exciting. Less green, right? That'll do a lot for us. It's less green.
You want less green?
Well, it's either Fel or it's the Legion or something. It's always green. And so far, they've never really put on much of a fight. It's like we're on the Argus. This is what kind of coming back to what we said earlier. It's like we're traveling to Argus, the Legion homeworld. And it's like, get out of the way. I'm here now. You guys are wimps. I feel like the bully that turns up at the schoolyard and starts rubbing their face in the mud, you know? So that's what I want out of it, is somebody new, somebody I can care about.
Yeah.
He probably hasn't been retconned yet. You know, we can get involved in the story.
Oh, as if you care about retcons. You need to know the lore before you care about retcons.
It puts me off. Honestly, it puts me off. Even though I don't know much about it, it still puts me off knowing I could read something and then it's like I've got to double check. I mean, they even memed it themselves. Like, whenever you start WoW now, it's like, who's my war chief? There's like 5 different depending on what expansion you're playing, there's like different war chiefs. You know, nothing size up.
So speaking of that, then. And being more of the systems guy, no, Mike, who you blindly keep following these terrible war chiefs that the Horde keeps spitting. Sure.
I follow the raid boss. The raid boss could be a giant cube for all I care. In fact, I have fought the giant cubes on several occasions.
I've heard the whispers under your breath of just like, oh, Sylvanas, my queen. But
only as a meme against the guys who get really upset by it.
Sure.
It is like I'm a Sylvanas loyalist to the end. What a queen. See, that's the face I want. I don't care. She burned the bush. Why are you getting upset about a bush?
Tie this back together, because we talked about this a little earlier in like breadcrumbs.
There was a tree with a population and a civilization that's been genocided.
It looked like a bush.
Genocided.
Genocided. The Niders are all dead. You can't see it in game really, but they're all dead.
No, I went and did that story. Some of them survived.
Yeah, just a couple of them. Just a couple. All those poor souls have been sent to the maw.
Look, if you're going to live in a bush, you should have better fire safety.
All right, Mike, this is sort of what your coined phrases now that I think you're becoming not known for, but definitely in like your bullet points of, you know, Mike Preach WoW always talks about X, Y, and Z. So the Shadowlands has some things that look like they have
Is that a thing, Mike? Really?
That is totally a thing.
I don't know. Apparently, I'm being told it's a thing.
Yeah, so they have a couple of things. We don't know how the gearing is going to be, but we have a couple of things that we look at now that might go back to your most favorite thing of required content. Okay. Information has come out from other interviews, as post-BlizzCon stuff normally does, about Torghast at least being inspired by, but now the internet ran rampant with this and kind of said now that apparently Torghast would be like this, kind of like the Withered training scenario, so it'd be like a one-shot every week and not just like a farmable thing like you talked about earlier today. See, that's exactly. See?
Throw the holy water on it.
Or maybe it'll be more like the Islands Weekly, where you can get your like weekly Valor cap. But
I thought it was like
outside of
where you could go in and again.
So, and Covenants now we've seen and confirmed, at least in their current iteration, that the relic system that you slot into your different soul binds are consumable. So that's gonna be fun to farm those over and over again.
I'm fine with that, as long as you can. Okay. I did see that, and I know Bellular, Mikey Boy, was like, oh no. I kind of think that's gonna be okay. Because even we've had a similar system in the past, you know, with the things that we put in our weapons.
Yep.
There was a couple of outside niche ones that were a pain, like Demon Hunters had to farm, like, I think it was Upper Karazhan or something. I remember doing a lot of Upper Karazhan runs for Demon Hunters to get theirs. But overall, you kind of started to build up a collection rather quickly. And therefore, you had stuff ready to go when you needed to swap it. So I don't think that'll be a big deal. It's depending on whether you need one from like a really obscure source and you need many of them to slot in. That's when it becomes a pain.
So I guess this is the turning point question, right? So right now it feels like there's a lot of like weekly rituals, and I play a lot of Destiny too, and there's lots of weekly and daily rituals in that game. But again, that comes down to the gameplay being fun. With removing or limiting the artifact power grind we have right now, that sort of makes a lot of things feel very tedious and very, World of Chorecraft. If that goes away and we get back to that, like that weekly Valor cap feel, because Ian did in our interview said like a Valor cap for the power of anime. What do you feel on the required content playthrough? Like you're going to have to because right now we're going to have, and you said before with the horrific visions coming up at 8.3, that's going to essentially be like a required amount of runs every week on your characters to work on your cloak, because their cloak is directly impacting how good you are going to be in the raid because of the sanity mechanic. And I know you have outspoken a lot about the required content stuff. So with these in mind, do you think it'll be less, about the same, more?
It becomes more because I think required content is such a broad term. What does that really mean? Like in terms of BFA, required content, I understand the need for it. It makes sense that there's stuff you do weekly that you should be kind of repeating in an MMO. I don't have a problem with that. And there's something like the Mythic Plus. It makes a lot of sense to me. It's one Mythic Plus a week. That's not a big ask by anybody. I don't think that's too much. I don't think that's over the top. I really don't. What I do have issue with is probably more like daily required content. And this ties into how we play the game at the Mythic end, is you created a system that fundamentally requires me to play every day to do a task that makes no sense for my character. So it doubles up on how extraneous and useless this is.
And you talk about world quests, right?
So world quests are in there. And you would throw island expeditions in there, because even at the mythic level, they're not interesting and not fun. And I should be able to choose where I get my resource from if I need this. But you're literally stacking all this content onto me on a daily basis in some cases that my character has no business doing at all. I'm past this. I shouldn't be wanting or required to do this content. If you're required content... sorry, go on.
What would you offer? Like, I'm thinking from a daily player, right? Like, I do enjoy logging in. So the major point that I'm hearing is that you feel required of doing it. What would you suggest as an alternative for players that do want to do daily things? Like, what would they have to achieve for?
Well, that's why I think the cosmetic side, like we talked about earlier, is fine. Like, so we're seeing with anima, there's a required element of anima per week. That's going to be going through your
keep the lights on.
Some progression. Yeah, which is going to be some sort of progression towards power, most likely soul binds and covenant powers. There's some progression system there that's time gated, so you need a weekly chunk of anima to do that. After that, if your anima is going towards upgrading the visuals of the cloak and things like that, so that's something I really, really want, the wings and the other, because it comes in like 3 pieces, right? We saw in the picture. So I want this wings with this piece, and I need to do stuff towards that. That's purely your choice, and it's not required at all. The requirement is the little part of it. I would touch here on World Quest 2.0, which are coming as well, which is something they've desperately needed to do, is to change the World Quest system, because they objectively made it worse in BFA because it had far less stuff to get, and it didn't make any sense within a month that you should be doing World Quests on a character that could do Mythic Dungeons, let alone raiding. Like, if you could do Mythic Dungeons, World Quest made no sense. We were talking with one of the devs about what would that look like? What's World Quest 2.0? And I said, well, you need to, if you want them to exist, you want them to make sense no matter which area of the game you're playing, but it's casual, PvP, Raider, Hardcore, Raider, LFR. So why don't you let players do things as a certain amount of World Quests in their zone by allowing them to choose how they want to do it? So they get to choose what resource they're chasing, because it might be an alt that needs war resources for a follower system, right? So I get to choose that, and it gives me World Quests that respond to that. On the other side of that, maybe I've got all that stuff and I'm a Raider. What I'd really like is potions and things like that. Things that are useful to me in terms of what I'm doing. So why can't we make a system that provides some of that resource, or herbs towards it, or something like that? And then you could even have some small economy where players can actually complete their work quests by turning in those resources, which are then being churned out by the Covenant. So there are 2 different elements you could go with here to make world quests, instead of like it randomly generates them per day and sends you on your merry way, that you can actually players interact with it, choose how they want to tackle it. Maybe I've only got like an hour to play today, and I really want to get my world quest done for whatever resource, right? But I could turn things in for that, similar to what they do with Warfronts. That's my world quest for the day. I can't go and do the other things. I've done it this way. Anything like that that develops it, and then that maintains it no matter what area of the game you're playing in and keeps it relevant. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing I would look towards doing, is because you explain, someone would try to explain to me what world quests do for my character. And if it gives you more pearls, that's not a good answer. If it gives me more war resources, I have 70,000 war resources. Like, what are you doing? But as Bay touched on, throughout this expansion, we've needed to keep grinding Azerite power. And as Mythic players, even more than anyone else, which makes this discussion hard, I should point that out. You talk to somebody who doesn't raid Mythic, they don't really get it, because the heroic and normal and LFR levels were way lower than what the Mythic levels needed. So it's an exponential system. So not only did the Mythic players need more AP levels, they also needed to grind exponentially more to reach those. Unless you were one of these players who's like, well, I just don't play for the whole tier, and it's not that bad of a system. Like, that's not relevant to what we're talking about, right? That's not going to help. So if you're not going to make this system, it shouldn't get exponentially worse the more you play, which is maybe why I feel so bitter about it, because this expansion has been so horrific for it. And if you check the world first race we did for Battle for Dazar Law, and we did the post show there with the guys, it was a big talking point, because those guys, in order to do their raid prep, just to use their armor, these guys aren't being crazy mental or something like that. It's just to use the armor they're going to get. That's all it's for. It's just so that when their armor drops, they can actually use it. I've had to grind. They were getting down to like 4 minutes an island and doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, because that's how the exponential curve worked on the AP they would need. I don't want that again.
Wouldn't you say that that's something that people, because you mentioned that it's required, but wouldn't you say that that's a requirement you impose on yourself because you want to do the top tier content the earliest of everybody else?
I would say that if it wasn't for the case, and Bay will probably back me up as much as anyone as we've sat and watched it, if that top tier content wasn't balanced also around you having those resources. And as we saw with every raid so far, and specifically this time around, it was Lady Ashvane. If you hadn't gone out and farmed pearls using multiple characters and got everything else ready, that boss was not going to die. Like, they had hard blocked it and balanced it around having it. So
say that you would say 2 months later, 2 months down the line, like, right? You don't clear it first week, but 2 months down the line, would you be ready to take her on then?
Probably not, with the amount of farming we had to do. It's possible. I mean, we're talking about a subjective amount of farming, right? It depends on player to player how much you did. But what we did see very clearly is that the first 3 bosses were, and more guilds will run into this problem than I think is a linear curve, is that the first 3 bosses in the latest raid were, compared to boss 4, which is Lady Ashvane, dramatically different. And it was just like this enormous wall that stood in front of many guilds for months. And in fact, it was the biggest one that people came back to me about, was Lady Ashvane, is that she was tuned around the fact that you've gone out, you've got all the Benthic gear, you've got gem slotted Benthic gear, you had Biss of everything else. Boss 4 is a bit early to be hitting that wall, and therefore it's not a case of, I'm not trying to kill the last boss week 1, right? I'm not trying to do that. But I'm still engaging this at boss 4 of a 10 boss raid. That's not particularly early on in the dungeon. Not for week 1, I don't think. Certainly for the many, many thousands. Some people like to think there's like 100 Mythic Raiders. There's not. There's many, many thousands. They are a small population for sure. But I don't see why, if we play in the Mythic Raid, that's our interest, right? Is the Mythic Raid, is that the out of raid content needs to be exponentially more cumbersome. I don't think that's a fair trade-off, especially because the game hasn't worked that way, like, really ever before BFA. It's that bad. Legion was kind of bad with the legendary acquisition, but not as bad as BFA has been.
It becomes almost like a symptom of its own sickness, because Blizzard understands that to keep the Mythic Raids challenging for those that put all this time in, they need to essentially not force, but tune it to their standards instead of making it like a baseline, because you can ask many raiders that are in the higher end scene, and we've talked to the Method guys before at the Race to World First, is that they find themselves, which is the weird part, spending more time before and outside of the actual raid preparing for it than in the raid itself, which I don't know how proportionate that should be. But there should be a baseline to jump in. But I think it's always been like it's a next step up. Every expansion we see a little bit more grind, a little bit more time spent, and time retention and all that kind of metrics that Blizzard wants to show to their stockholders and stuff is like obviously a big thing. But that's obviously a small portion of the game, but it trickles down, right? That's the issue that Mike and I bring up too. It trickles down.
There's a key detail to this that's really important. There's a key detail because it's to be clear on this, an exponentially greater amount of time outside of raid doing content that makes no sense for your character. We're not talking about going and grinding like high-end Mythic Plus or something like that, which is very difficult content for a highly geared character.
Sure.
We're talking about content that's doable by a fresh 120, and ergo makes no sense for those characters doing quests that have very little reward or anything. So you have to understand how, from our perspective, how tedious it feels to be constantly doing that level of content that Blizzard has designed not for us, which is fine. And like I say, we expect it to a degree because it comes every single patch. It's more a case of we're now forced to do this for weeks, like the essences as well. You know, you're now forced to do. A lot of them were reputation gated behind Nazjatar, for example, or Mechagon. You're now doing content that's just so dumb that I can moonfire a village and it dies. That's not fun. It's not engaging. Like if you gave me something engaging and fun to do, which is kind of what we had in Legion, and this is why I was so I was despairing at why they decided to change this with the artifact power. Artifact power came from wherever you wanted to do it. That was the point. Like you got it from all sources. It is a grind, but people could go to Mythic Plus. It also came with legendaries. You could help friends. It came from anywhere.
Oh, people definitely went to Mythic Plus. 500 plus Moss souls.
5-minute runs.
Yeah.
And then you had BFA, which said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. Instead, we're going to make you get it from these sources and make you need it as well.
We're looking. What you're mentioning is you would like it. It's not so much about the grind, but it's more like how do we do the grinds and let me pick and choose what I want to grind for.
Choice. I mean, a lot of the things that we argued about in BFA has been choice. And the same with Master Looter. We look at it as choice. This is our choice how we deal with these things. If you're going to put a grind in the game, give me a choice how I tackle that. If it's a mandatory grind, right? Not a choice grind like going and getting the fishing rods or something from Kalawak. That's on me. You know, if I want to go and get Timbermore rep in Classic, that's on me. That's my choice to go and do that. So that's fine. Do whatever you want it to do it. If you're going to enforce a mandatory grind on everybody in the game, which is what it is, there needs to be some choice with that, or at least some limitations so it's not just an absurd runaway train. And I will say, Shadowlands, they've listened to that.
They have.
You know, they have listened to that instead of it being this runaway train and just letting people go crazy with it, which is why I'm so happy about when the anima question came out. It's like, look, there's a required part. It's very small. And after that, it's all fun, cool stuff.
Hopefully.
That's all I want to hear. It's like, yeah, it's all fun, cool stuff. Doesn't give you power or something like that. I don't ever want to be checking a raid tier again and seeing what AP levels are at to get the same, as Bay said earlier, to get the same thing I already have. Because, you know, we saw Mythic Plus Azerite armor. If your BIS came from there, which it did in many cases, you're after the same set of shoulders again, only now you need to do 100 or 250 islands in order to be able to get it when it's appropriate for you. Otherwise, it's actually less good than one you have now, which is what we saw with many patch transitions in BFA, is immediately a lot of your stuff was just like, this is awkward as hell to deal with. It really is.
Did they mention, by the way, if the item level requirement in order to trade loot, is that going?
Well, there's no item level bumps, so it technically can't happen, right? I think.
Sorry, what do you mean?
There's no Titan Forging and War Forging anymore. So the idea of your
item level is baseline then.
Yes.
Like for example, I've never equipped a 450 trinket before. I get a trinket, but a buddy of mine could use it better. Am I still allowed to trade it, or do I need to equip it?
I think on the first time you're probably still scuffed.
That so sucks though.
The first time you would be scuffed.
Again, it comes down to choice, and this is what a lot of us have been resentful about. Is it's our choice. And I get there are people out there who abused it. I don't think it was as widespread, or at least I can't find evidence it was as widespread as it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my choice what I do with my loot as far as I'm concerned. That's it. And it's been my choice for like 15 years. So why it's a problem now was always a bit like, why is this a problem? I don't understand.
I feel like
everybody's like, Master Loot, give it back.
Well, we asked about Master Loot.
They were dragging us out of the room.
Yeah.
Like, you can't see it on camera, but the lady was like, out. You guys are done. Get out of the room. And I was like, Mike, Master Loot. You said off the microphone.
He was, yeah. But that's a big box to unpack. I think there's lots of positives and things we just don't know about yet. Hopefully they shore those up. But let's take a quick turn back to some things we had last year, sort of the running gag we have now put forward, and have a little more fun. So let's not get mired as much into these things. I'm sure we'll all do plenty of alpha and beta testing, and we'll figure all this stuff out and give the feedback. So let's have fun for this tail end of this major segment before we open it up to chat and ask them if they have any questions, which I'm sure won't be totally ridiculous, I imagine. But we have segments we did last year. If you didn't watch the 2018 version of this show, of course, you can go back and watch that archived. You can go back and see what we did. So, Nobbel, I have some music here, and I have the link in the notes. I think you have that pulled up. I think it's also the main. Little...
I'm gonna bring up the link. Hang on.
Okay, it's from the.
I saw it earlier.
It's from the official site. It actually is like if you go to the homepage for Shadowlands, it's the stuff beyond. It's Brave the Beyond. It's those 3 paragraphs.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, that's easy enough. Yeah, I could do that.
There's more in the Wowpedia article if you wanted to do the Wowpedia version. There's like more.
I got the Wowpedia article open right now.
Gosh. Yes. But yeah, it's the Beyond. It's the Brave the Beyond. So the Veil of Life and Death and etc. So I basically put Nobbel in it. I did this with Krendor and Jesse Cox last year as well, where I had them read things. So I'm gonna put this music on, and whenever you're ready, how about you narrate us the opening of the Shadowlands pitch?
Hello, everyone. All right, are you ready, chat? I hope you're ready. The veil between life and death is no more. With a single act of destruction, Sylvanas Windrunner has ripped open the way to the afterlife. Azeroth's staunchest defenders have been dragged into all-consuming darkness. An ancient force of death threatens to break its bonds and unravel reality. Hidden realms of wonder and horror await any who would pass to the other side. The Shadowlands is home to an entire realm of the departed. It is a world between worlds whose delicate balance preserves life and death itself. As one of Azeroth's greatest champions that one-shots everything in the zone with a single moonfire, you've been granted the power to cross over in body and soul. Now you must investigate a conspiracy to unmake the cosmos and help Warcraft Legends journey back or fulfill their ultimate destiny. That's all that's here.
Wow.
I'm done. Did you wet your panties?
I'm not wearing them for you.
There were far fewer rolled R's in that than I imagined.
I didn't have an oofer either. You know, ever since I did that show with you, I can no longer pronounce oofer proper. Not that I ever could, but now it's like a proper oof. Oofer.
Yeah, why is it oofer?
Because you were like, hey, Nobbel, can you say like oofer? And now it's just, it won't change.
It's
I can't do the
oother.
Glad you could make it oofer.
Oofer.
I like the idea of Ufa because now he's like a comedy character who follows all the time. He has this silly Benny Hill music whenever he comes into the story.
Oh no!
Oh
no.
God, he's here again.
Yep. All right, now for Mike, we have a bit of a different take on this. I made a segment last year called "SPLAIN That Boss," or Mike's Minute Rundown, something along that line. So I picked a assortment of raid bosses that Mike essentially has to give the cliff notes on how to defeat this boss from memory. A whole bunch of old bosses. Old. Yeah. Well, they start really old and they get closer and closer and closer. So I'm going to cue up the vanilla Blackwing Lair music, sir, and I'm going to present to you each of these bosses. So, Mike, how do you defeat Doomlord Kazak?
It's a massacre. It's a massacre this week. Just don't try and kill the boss. Kill everybody else. And the boss will die because it does nothing important. Just kill everybody else. This is also going to be gross this week, by the way.
What?
The PvP's coming.
Yep.
Oh, right. I was about to say, that's why our multi-core raids go this way. Just kill everybody else. Yeah, I see how it is.
Yeah, this is... Kazak is going to be a massacre. It's going to be hilarious. I can't wait.
All right, how do you defeat Terran Gorefiend in the Black Temple?
It's so easy. How can you not do this? You press Nova, then you press Lance, and click each one pressing Lance. It's so easy. 2 buttons. Please. Please. That's it.
So I lens before Nova, yeah?
I
No,
hate
you got it.
already. I actually hate you already.
How about Muru in the Sunwell?
Okay, this is how you kill Muru. I'm so bored. Please kill the boss. It's so boring. Oh, kill the ads. Kill the ads. Hey, we the ads. Kill the ads. Now kill the boss. Good job.
No master spells?
Oh no, in fact, the biggest technique to killing Muru is to press drums on cooldown. Good job, everybody. We all re-rolled leatherworking. What heroes we are.
The blood...
He looks confused. This Nobbel looks confused. See?
Now, I've watched your videos going back to the Burning Crusade, so I'm not that confused. I'm just like, oh, everybody's got drums with them now. Awesome.
Everybody had drums.
Yeah.
Good. So boring. So
All right.
boring. Such an overrated boss.
So you're a vampire boy, Mike. So how do you defeat the Blood Queen Lanethel in the Icecrown Citadel?
You bite me as fast as possible. That's what you do. You give the damage buff to the good people, and this is how you beat Blood Queen, right? You go, I have 1 minute until I have to bite somebody. Who am I going to bite? Where are they going to be? That's it. That's the end of the fight, and you've won. It's fantastic. That's all you do. Is you have 60 seconds to go, who am I biting? I'm biting Nobbel. Where is Nobbel? He's there. Excellent. In a minute's time, we're going to kiss, and then we'll go about our business. That's really it. That's really all it is.
How about the blind dragon Atramedes in the Blackwing Descent?
Okay. Now, this really depends, guys. So keeping this between me and you. If it's the first version of Atramedes, what you do
Stand on the edge.
you pull the boss, and then you leave the boss arena and go into the middle of the circle, and you just wait there. And then you just DPS him down. He'll disappear for a bit and do some stuff, but don't worry about that. He'll come back. If it's later on, you just watch a soundbar fill, and then you smash a gong. Kill him before you run out of gongs. That's it.
Wait, wasn't this the one where you could stand on the edge and not care about the mechanics?
That boss was so broken. That's the first boss in WoW trivia for you. That's the first boss where guilds openly released Atramedes kill videos while they were abusing him and exploiting him, and Blizzard didn't care because they couldn't fix it. That was the first time. You can look at a lot of guilds' first kill videos of that. I suggest cuties only, where they're not even in the boss room, and his head is like clipping through a wall, and Blizzard didn't care at all.
Beautiful.
We are now in the Throne of Thunder, and we are faced with Jikun.
Just know when the wind's coming and just run forward, please. I beg of you to do that. And also, if you do it on heroic, you get to use the wings a lot. So get good at that, because that's a big problem if you get that wrong. Oh God, I've just seen the next boss.
Wait, it's another bird boss. Who is this? We have found ourselves in the Hellfire Citadel, facing off against Shadow Lord Iskar.
Why can't you throw it? Why can't you throw it? Why? Just click it. Click me. Press the button, and we're fine. That's it. Why can't you throw it?
That's my artifact. You can't
Please
have it.
throw it. Just throw it to the man. See the man.
Isn't that the artifact that makes you immune to all the other things that he does?
No, he does a wind thing, but
yeah.
Okay, I have to say this. It sucks you off the platform. And all you do is you throw the thing to the people, and then they stop.
Yeah, but if you hold on to the thing, you don't have to care about being sucked off.
And that's why we wiped. Thank you very much.
It's okay.
Appreciate it greatly.
And to capstone this whole segment, you were just recently apparently trending on Imager and 9gag for a very old GIF from one of your legacy videos. How do you defeat Ursoc in the Emerald Nightmare?
I mean, it's the Butcher boss. Just go hard. That's how I'll do it. Go hard or go home. Yeah? Big DPS, mate.
But don't get hit by the charge, right? Don't get hit by the charge. Stay.
No, you do get hit by the charge, but you're a good player, so you predict the charge, you stand on the edge of the charge, it knocks you to your standing position of the next place. Therefore, big!
Raiding with Mike has been truly an experience of my life, by the way.
Yeah, you guys raid together in classic. I wonder. It's like
if you're not abusing the charge to move you, you're just doing it wrong. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, those are the two
DPS.
segments. Huge DPS.
I can't believe you put Shadowlord Iskar and Terran Gorfiend on there. Nightmare fuel. Do you know how many times I've been in Shadowlord Iskar with some guy like scrambling onto the edge, like holding on for dear life, and some guy going, "Who's got it?" I tried throwing it, but it's not working. It's not working.
Yeah.
How does this even work? Broken this, mate. Well bugged. You know what else was like that? Archimond, the Tears of Elune. I was in the air and I pressed the thing and I didn't stop and now I'm dead. Broken, I'm telling you. Oh, it worked that time. Never mind.
Have you done the anniversary bosses yet?
No, I haven't. I got home, raided, and as I said to you, I've got something wrong with me. I'm unable to sleep since I got back. So
the wondrous world of LFR is waiting for you.
The anniversary bosses are like some serious World of Warcraft blue ball syndrome.
Oh really?
Yeah,
you don't kill any of them. You get poured into a section of the encounter for X percentage of HP, and then Chromie pulls you back out again. And the best one is Arthas, but
no, Safety Dance is best one.
No.
Oh, it puts you into Hagen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Safety Dance is the only one where you actually need to concern yourself about mechanics. The rest of them are just nuke it down.
Novel, concerned with mechanics.
Who's up? Sorry, I don't know.
Right,
so we've got Lich King.
Right.
We've got Hagen.
Left. It's
what? Did they slow the dance down and does it one shot?
No. It almost one shots. It's like 80% of your HP.
Well, who else have we got? Is it just Lich King and Hagen?
There is a part of Archimond. Then there is Lady Vush and...
Ooh, which bit of Vush did they give you?
Right when the ads spawn, when all the ads are coming up the sides.
Oh, so you have to do the cores?
Well, no. all you do is like do one lantern and shoot down the spore bats and it ends.
What?
That's why it's blue balls. Because
so it's nothing like you're just in the boss arena. Really?
You get ported because the joke is that Chromie is trying to show you how it was, and she makes all these really silly puns. That part's kind of fun, but it just like sucks you in for a little bit. Each boss is like 30 to not even 2 minutes of the encounter. No. 30 seconds.
You get a taste of it. Like,
but it doesn't use the mechanics of those sections. That's what I'm confused on. So
the mechanics are there. Some of them.
So what happens if you do all 4 cores then? Or can you not do that? I don't know.
You don't need to do all the pillar thingies. It's green pools on the floor segment.
Oh, the last phase.
And the tank getting wrecked. Yeah.
That's the last phase. Is she doing the chain lightning?
I think so.
She doesn't last
I'm
long
bothered
enough.
that you guys don't even know which phase it is.
It's like, because it doesn't last that long.
The bash is there. All right,
Here,
I'll give you an example. King do they give you? Do they give you Infest?
They give you Defile and Infest.
Defile, Valkyr.
Arthas and the Valkyr. Arthas is probably the best one because if you get a melee Defile, you instantly wipe because the melee won't move out fast enough and it goes and then you're done.
So that's very realistic, actually.
Yes. the biggest sad one is Nefarian and Onyxia in Blackwing Descent.
Nefarian,
you get ported into the lava phase, you go up, you kill the 3 ads, there's one crackle, and then you leave.
So you don't even I assume they didn't want people trying to position the dragons on a
No, I guess not.
Yeah.
Nefarian was truly a boom moment. Then there was Killfuss, and I was really excited. Oh shit, I can use
which phase?
Big Killfuss, I think.
Big Killfuss phase.
All right, so last phase.
With gravity lapse. Yeah,
last phase. Okay.
Yeah.
Archimond was indeed the flying part that you did. And Nubarak is where, I think at the start. Like,
it's
basically goes underground.
Yeah. Kill the ice orbs.
Which one, though? Like, Next 25 version?
Trial of the Crusader tournament, yeah.
Oh,
tournament.
that one, yeah.
Trial of the Great Crusader. It's the burrowing phase.
They should have put phase 3 and it terrified everybody with all the
that would have
been hilarious.
The carrion
They should have
swarm.
done phase 3 and just the healers going, what is this? Oh no!
And trying to out heal it.
Yeah.
Well, the carrion swarm.
Yeah, they're trying to out heal it. Oh my god, that would be hilarious.
Yeah,
the boss health is just not moving.
Yeah,
he's actually getting more health.
So it's it's strange. I've heard it's. I don't know. I guess I get it, but I'm sure.
It sounds fun. It sounds like a little fun.
It's fun.
It was a fun guild night out.
What were you expecting to happen?
I was expecting
Raggy was in there as well.
It's Ragnaros. It's not Legnaros. It's Firelands Ragnaros.
So is it Smash the Hammer Raggy?
He smash the hammer. You load in and he does fire seeds immediately. And if you don't move immediately to your far right, you die. The hardest part is definitely when he smashes the hammer down and you get to stop the ads from getting there. The funniest part, though, is if you have a bunch of monks, because obviously Ring of Peace didn't exist back there. You just put Ring of Pieces all around the hammer, so the ants can't get in.
That's really funny, actually.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But yeah, hardest part. Oh, well, the hardest part about Ragnaros when he first came out was the bug that if you moved after you got ported again, and if you moved, you got ported again. If you moved, you got ported again. That was
So it
rough.
just traps you in place.
Yeah, but it's been fixed. It's been fixed. But
Reward is sweet though. Get the right.
so how long does it last? Oh, is it for the Deathwing thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to do that then.
Yeah, it's for the mount. It's for the mount. You have to do
couple of
all
months?
3 wings. It lasts till January 7th.
There you go.
The
You
whole
get
event.
The experience and reputation buff as well.
Which is what?
What?
It's always
Alexa.
listening. Yes.
Muted, mate. Yeah, chat's got questions. We'll get to chat in a moment. You guys step away for a little bit if you would like. Grab a drink, grab a snack, something like that. Stand up, stretch, walk around. Feel your coffee, Nobbel.
No, I need to set my video ready. Speaking of the anniversary bosses, reminded me like, oh, snap, my video isn't ready to go yet.
there you go.
So I have to edit a video after this as well. I'm gonna have another long night.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to take a quick few moments here just to thank everyone, of course, for tuning in to episode number 201 today. If you've missed any of the main episode, of course, it all goes archived on my YouTube channel, where if you've missed any of the coverage we recently just had at BlizzCon, made 3 individual videos about BlizzCon and Shadowlands. The dev interview, we had the pre-BlizzCon special, of course, with Mr. GM and Hazelnutty Games. That is online as well. And if you missed the weekly reset live, I was also part of the closing panel to that. But I want to make sure I give a huge thank you and shout out to my sponsors for the show. Of course, making sure that I can keep doing this and hooking me up with sweet gear for my new build. Of course, I'm still in my old room right now, but I have a ton of gear. I have a huge PC build that's still coming, but Corsair and Elgato. For a very, very long time, I had held off on taking any crazy like brand deals or sponsorships, but I've been waiting, and earlier this year, I locked in with Corsair and Elgato, and I am super happy with all the stuff that I've gotten. I have a ton of stuff that I even was using before I even signed up with Corsair. So if you are looking for any bits and bobs and pieces and parts for an upcoming build or upgrading something in your current build, may I suggest there is a command in chat as well, because I finally have an affiliate link for this. And you can actually use the link to not only support the show, the stream, and everything in between, but also garnish yourself 10% off any of the Corsair peripherals, or 10% off and free standard shipping, might I add, for any of the Elgato pieces that you're looking for yourself or for a gift, of course. It is the holiday season, as the Corsair site is alerting us to, but that is all down below. It's down below here on Twitch, and of course, on YouTube, the links and the discount code are there. And it's a fantastic way. If again, the joke that I always have to say to end cap this is that, have you seen Bajira's beautiful face on, the scimitar mouse before? But what if this horrible 5-head was on like a keyboard or something like that? That relationship you help build. You want this face on product? Maybe that's your fetish. I have no idea. But that is how you can do that. And again, this episode and the previous pre-BlizzCon, post-BlizzCon shows have been put together part by the amazing folks over at Wowhead. And if you are looking for any of the huge summaries from BlizzCon, go check out Wowhead. They just actually posted the huge new overview of the Shadowlands. So all of their subsections are now all posted. So if you forgot something or didn't know about how something else was happening, they're all been individually chunked here in a mega thread on Wowhead. So you can go bookmark that, go to Wowhead for all of your curious needs in both the live game. They've got the Diablo 4 huge thread here as well, too. And again, you can go through and toggle on or off what you're looking at. Check up all the stuff that's going on weekly and today in World of Warcraft and all the patch stuff. You can toggle the PTR here if you're looking for the PTR testing. That's where you can check all that stuff out over on Wowhead. They did put together my interview, so it's like transcribed with all the different questions that Mike and I asked. If you want to just read through everything, that's on there as well. And thank you very much for those that are supporting what I do here. The friends out there, mostly it's Ketsu putting up with me because I message her a lot. That's how that works. But of course, if everyone tuning in and watching and checking out Wowhead for all of this stuff. But links are down below to all the things. Links are down below as well. If you're on YouTube watching this right now, of course, to Mike and Nobbel's stuff. If you don't know where they are on the internet for some reason, then the links are where you'd find links. On Twitch right now, it's mine because you're here, but you know how to find it. So, now no sub for lips. Stop. Chat. Quiet. Shh. Jeez. Alrighty. So now we can integrate some your videos post. Did you do all your editing? Oh, Mike is gone. Nobbel, are you posting your video?
Oh, Mike has just left the building, right? Now I'm setting like you know how it works. You got a video ready, and it needs like a thumbnail and a title and a red circle somewhere. And I kind of forgot to put that up there, so that's what I'm currently doing.
Get the red circle in there, sir.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a solid 30 or so minutes left for the rest of the show here to angle at that 2-hour-long show. I've got some canned questions. Chat, of course, if you have questions, we'll try to get to a handful of them as well. So, well, literally right off the bat, not because I'm pandering to Gorek or anything, but a question for Nobbel is, do you think Blomsamdi's master is none other than the Arbiter? Also, how do I have an accent? Wait, how do I have an accent like yours? How do you train yourself to have an accent like Nobbel's? Is that the follow-up question?
You don't want an accent like mine, trust me. You don't want it. People are really mean about it. Blomsamdi's boss being the Arbiter. Maybe. I mean, in the realm of speculation right now, anything's possible, right? But we do know about Blomsamdi's boss. He mentioned vaguely that he left a spirit go before. And we never really figured out, like, which spirit is he talking about. It could have been... Bay, help me out here. That guy back then with Hakar the Soul Flayer in the Cataclysm. Jindo, there we go. It could have been Jindo. Maybe he let Jindo go. Maybe he let Sylvanas go. And if it's Sylvanas, but that doesn't make sense because Sylvanas is apparently in league with the jailer. I'm hoping that it's something else. I'm hoping like that the Arbiter is like this, I don't know, this King Yemma kind of character just sits there and just judges you and then sends you off to whatever realm you gotta go. And if you're a troll connected to Blomsamdi or whatnot, she sends you over to Blomsamdi's realm and he has a boss chilling there. We're also gonna see a dungeon with the title The Other Side, which I love. Like the whole Friends on the Other Side, since Blomsamdi is based on Baron Samedi. And if you've ever seen The Prince and the Frog, you know, like the Shadow Man. So I'm hoping that we're going to find out more about Volten and his boss in that dungeon. Could it be the Arbiter? Maybe, but I'm hoping for something else.
Welcome back, Mike. We're taking questions. How are you?
Okay, cool. I'm good. When you said Baron Samedi, then I instantly thought of GoldenEye. I couldn't help it.
That's an old cut.
It is.
Wow.
It is.
GoldenEye? Was there a Baron Samedi in GoldenEye? What?
Yeah. N64, bro.
I played that one religiously. Which character was he?
He was the boss in Egypt. The extra level you got afterwards.
Ew. Never know. I just remember Oddjob and kneeling down and chopping everybody to death, and then you were not allowed to play Oddjob.
So you're a scumbag player. I get it.
I was like, what, 8 or 10? Leave me alone.
Youngsters. Zoomer.
Oh, this didn't really... Wow. Zoomer. This didn't really come up directly in the show notes or in your synopses so far, Nobbel, but it's been confirmed via I believe the Lost Codex boys, J&J. They got some bunch of lore questions. And
I listened to it today in preparation, actually. Good interview. Check it out.
Yeah. They talked about, because we were wondering about where Tyranda's going. And Tyranda's going to be a big part in the Shadowlands. Specifically, which covenant is she going to go to? The Ardenweld, I believe. Yeah, the Fey area. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that as like the splintery thing? This kind of ties into the whole like we still don't have like a faction playable. We can't Horde and Alliance can't party together, even though we keep coming together and doing things every expansion together. But there's like an armistice now, but no one at the Horde side is like angry at the Alliance because it's like Thrall and Cairn or Bane are both buddies with us now, and like Lorthamar and Thalyssra are probably got a super bang, and Jaina and Thalyssra just had like a great girlfriend moment. Like what?
Look, the Zandalari better be pissed off at the Alliance and at themselves and at the Horde. Like they just joined the Horde and they lost the king because of it.
True,
and now all of a sudden they gotta be like, just war happens. Who cares? We're all best buddies now. Like, what?
Oh, war. Shucks.
Like, that whole war campaign in Battle for Azeroth, it hurts me so much. I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the point of the war campaign, and there just seems to be no point to it. It's like, yeah, to make Sylvanas the bad guy, but there could have been 1,000,001 different ways of doing that.
Yeah.
What was the point? Anywho, to question of Toronto, what was the question?
Just essentially, we know Tyrande has a story in Shadowlands as well as the major souls in Shadowlands. Any other big stories you'd like to see?
Oh, right. There's kind of a cool, interesting concept going on. Like, we know with the whole burning of Teldrassil that there were certain elves that felt like Elune abandoned them, right?
Yeah.
And now we're learning that the Shadowlands are a little bit of upheaval, the Maw is drawing them all in, and we have these Dark Rangers that all of a sudden show up, they're resurrected by Sylvanas, and they tell us, like, I have my own reason to work with her. What if, with the whole imbalance in the Shadowlands, that Elune is responsible for, like, these Night Elf spirits, but because there's an imbalance, she couldn't take care of them. Therefore, the elves, they just ended up in the Maw, and now their choice was either you become a Dark Ranger and you work with Sylvanas, or you spend your afterlife in hell. What choice would you make, right? So they come back as Dark Rangers, the team up with Sylvanas. That could be a plot that they play out. And in the case of Tyrande will not rest until she gets vengeance for Sylvanas, and apparently she wants to find out why Elune forsook them. Well, that could have, the whole reason could be behind it with the jailer and the Maw and whatever else is going on there. And she is on the prowl, she's on the hunt, and I'm personally very excited about it. The Night Elves, they deserve a lot more bites, as well as infighting within the Alliance is better than within the Horde. Like, we've done the Horde twice now. I think it's about time that the Alliance gets to be a little bit darker in that regard. We also have Gen Greymane that could definitely play its part in there. So I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot of cool stuff in there. What I did find interesting about this Fate Covenant is that they mentioned Cenarius as being the spirit there that visited.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was like, well, what about Ysera? Like, why isn't my baby Ysera there? And maybe if the Maw has been sucking in souls since Legion, then maybe Ysera is stuck in the Maw. And that would be really sad.
Are you worried they're going to use this intervening question? I object. Are you worried they're going to use this just to retcon all the expansions and kind of start fresh? Is that part of any thoughts of yours?
Retconning how? Like
all the deaths we've had. No,
Hmm?
like retconning the deaths of major characters, and like perhaps toward over the Shadowlands story, there's a way of bringing them back to the living. And therefore, they're just going to use this as an excuse to bring back other characters and have a fresh amount of major characters to play with.
Like, bringing back characters always devalues death.
Yeah,
in
that's my word too.
And it's been a long-running joke with Killfuss merely a setback. Like, nothing in Warcraft ever says that. We've known it for a very long time. But in the case of opening up the Shadowlands, you could say, like, oh, look at Blizzard just reusing these old characters. But I'm hoping that the path is not just to bring them back and look, we're the good guys now. It's building upon this character that is passed on. This is what we knew about them in life, and this is what happened to them in the Shadowlands. And this is how they're trying to find their spot in the afterlife. That's what I'm hoping that the story progression is going to be, rather than, hey, Killfuss Sunstrider, you're a good guy now. Come back into the story and help us out. That would really suck.
So how about a question? Question about classes haven't really come up at all, Mike, and this just came up in chat. Dark Silence, which just edgy enough for you? Is that good?
Dark Silence.
What they call it, Dark Silence of the Vampire Bros.
There it is. But this, I mean, I've talked about this enough, but just to get your take on it, we didn't really know much about Halinka's keynote about class reworks, the great unpruning, but I guess specifically for the classes that you play, so like Mage, Boomkin, I suppose, even going back to like your OG, like Winger Warrior, if you could unprune whatever you wanted, what would you do?
Master Looter.
Well, that's not...
No, I know your question.
Pick that druid ability that could steal a class ability.
Oh, well, Symbo size?
Yeah, they're doing something with that in 8.3, actually. You're right. The healers are able to steal essences, which is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Something specific. I would really like... It's not pruned, really, but let me just make it simple for my Moonkin. I would really like Full Moon, and the way it works would just be baseline again.
Oh yeah.
And not as a talent, because it was a really, I mean, we literally threw a moon out of the sky.
Mm-hmm,
It was so much more interesting, and you could play around it, and it was just cool. And
I just
a
want
lot
to
of
throw
them,
a moon at people.
yeah, for me personally though, that a lot of the pruning isn't like a spell specifically; it's a gameplay element. A
like
lot of
extra
it was
layers.
contained within the art. It's a lot of stuff that we got with the artifact. Like I find my mage unplayable now. Like I officially dropped it, and I play a Shadow Priest. Basically because all the elements that the artifact weapon had, they moved back in after some backlash into talents, and it still didn't work. But they were like, technically they're there, but you couldn't really use them. So it was a lot of fluidity of the classes that just felt lackluster once they were removed, like having Phoenix Flames and the Pyro Braces, and being able to choose how you use things. And then we had silly things like Cinder Flame on top of that. All these different elements, including Ice Flows and Shimmer, we were able to do that for a really long time. And it made the class just super fun to play, like so enjoyable. And now, there's a lot of people going back to Fire Mage now, and basically they're going back to it because it's essentially a Legion base mage before the artifact weapon and all that kind of stuff. And for me, it's all those little things which I don't think we'll ever get back, because the de-pruning is all about returning of certain spells. So for me, it's those things that I would like to see back, because they had really fluid characters in Legion by the end. And a lot of them that's why BFA felt so bad, right? Like we came into it, it was like, oh my God, like I really miss all these little things that we had, like instant blizzard once we had frozen orbs out, and which then led to spawning frozen orb over frozen orb, and that was really stupidly fun. It was so silly. Like bosses like Scorpion, which is a terrible boss, we had crazy fun on just doing those things because of how the classes worked. So I could take a terrible boss, and my class was so fun that I enjoyed it anyway. So that's the kind of stuff I would like to see back, but I don't think that's going to happen.
With the de-pruning, by the way, are they doing complete class overhauls? Because I heard them mention that, for example, Paladin is going to get their hammer in their base kit again rather than a talent. I imagine they're going to do a complete rework, right? Or is that me being too optimistic?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. I think they're just going to. I think, from what I can tell, they're literally throwing old spells back onto the spell book. And that's. But that doesn't mean there isn't new stuff coming.
We don't know.
New stuff. Yeah. Well, they're doing it through the Covenant. Your Covenant abilities are your new spells, right? So it's not a case of you'll get a new spell via the talent system like traditional, and then obviously not doing tier sets again. Instead, this time your old stuff will return to your spell book, and all the new things, the new spells, will be Covenant stuff. So again, they're using the idea of rental abilities. I mean, they're sticking with that idea.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of new stuff coming, and we've seen some examples that they showed at BlizzCon. So it's not a case of we're not getting new things. We absolutely are. They're just going to be the Covenant stuff. Where you'll get to pick and choose which things you want, which is a good way to go. I'm fine with that, if it's done right. That's the way it's going.
This kind of caveats into Angel-Eyed question about how do you feel about Blizzard abandoning successful Legion concepts like Artifact, PvP World Quest, Bodyguard followers with unique class abilities. We kind of went over that in our Just Bants section about how every expansion they just add a new system and then add on to it and then just wipe it away. And I think you and I aren't like...
We asked it in the interview.
Yeah.
We talked about them layering systems, which is what we're talking about here. Is they layer systems on top of systems on the top of systems, and we sat down and wrote them all out. Every expansions for the last 2 expansions, there's been 3 whole new systems, and then they don't exist at all in the next expansion, so they never get improved and iterated upon. So we did ask Ian about this, and his thought process was he agreed that we're hoping that we can just use the Covenant system and expand upon it in slight ways over the course of the expansion. And then if that pays off, then they can iterate on that in the future, rather than just like, well, the Covenants are gone now, so you lost all that stuff that you had, which might be really cool, and now we're doing something else, which it's not a problem for us who get to play all the time, really. It's annoying, but it's more of a problem for returning players who take even a minor break from WoW, come back, and there's a whole new system to learn, and sometimes it's not very... Like Azra, it's not a very obvious system to understand. You get that you have armor that you get to choose from, but as we well know, you're not sure what's good because the tooltips aren't particularly clear on which one is good. One does random damage. The other one also does random damage. Like, which one is better? And a lot of new players are like, okay, and it works in bandings, so I have to work that out. Which other gear doesn't work in bandings? This works in bandings. Okay, I get that. Now I have to figure out of all these traits which is good. And then there's essences that come on top of that, but the essences aren't particularly clear about which one is better. A lot of them sound kind of similar. So Which
You
one do I
make it
want
way
passively?
too complicated, man. What do you mean
that's what we
in-game
said.
needs to explain what the abilities does? Just sim it. Easy. Just put it into the machine and it tells you what to do.
Yeah. Just get a website to work out for you. So hopefully, although we have the examples we've been shown so far aren't clear on which is better, although it should kind of look that way. Like the major ones they've shown, some are obviously more burst damage related. Some of them are more long term.
Yeah.
So that's all we want, really. I mean, most sensible people can figure out if I get a short buff for a little period of time, that's a burst. I could burst damage in that. If I have a steady buff over a period of time, that's more long-term damage. So that's okay. That's fine if they go that way. So I'm being optimistic about how they go. So the classes are getting old and new stuff. That's they are.
I just hope that the Covenants, like that there isn't going to be one that has like the overall ability that's super duper powerful for every single class. So you're all forced into one of them. That would suck.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
what
all
we
feel that.
The Firemage example is probably there with the Legion legendaries. Is one Covenant gives you Norganin's Foresight boots, which are pretty useless. The other one gives you the Pyro Bracer proc. Like I don't have a choice. And then people complain because they wanted to be, say, the Bastion Covenant, but they can't possibly do that because their class would be entirely crippled without choosing the other one. So they nerf one, and then suddenly the other one's much better. And you're like, well. Everybody has to re-roll now, and that kind of situation, which fingers crossed they're not running into.
I think it'll be a lot of very similar things, just different. I think Word Up
Just
talked about it.
Wording, yeah.
Like say the 4 major abilities that you get across the 4 different covenants are just if they're like a DPS-y button for we're talking about DPS here, and they all mathematically over 5 to 8 to 10 minutes come out to be the exact same on click or on use, so they're very neutral. Just depends on what one they're like the best on that might eke out a little bit more in like damage windows or haste scaling or whatever, but they're all relatively close. If they're vastly different, there will be a balancing problem. But that's for like.
I mean, also, it'll also come down to what they design you to do it with. So if you're just doing world quests or whatever, it doesn't matter. If that's your gameplay, it really won't matter. You can pick whatever you want.
Sure.
If you're a raider though, and they design, let's make it simple. They put a covenant trait in that is extremely good for multi-dotting, and then they put in raid bosses, and 9 of them are multi-dot fights. And then the next tier there's 0. So you're like, you know what I mean? It depends on the content we're going to tackle with these things as well. So that needs to be bared in mind.
Interesting. We're going to find out.
You don't want to be 20 or 30%. I mean, 1 or 2% behind. Most people can get away with that, right? On certain bosses, you're 1 or 2% behind your theoretical max. That's fine. If the difference is like 30 or 40%, which is, some of the stats that we have in game now are that big that they're making such a dramatic difference, then that's a problem, because that's not feasible. You just won't get brought in a lot of competitive environments, which is what I care about. I care about that environment.
This is one that I've seen a couple of different times. There's some neat like lore questions in here. I'm not gonna be able to pick out every single question. All these can be given just like right to Nobbel. Yeah, give them to like right on stream. Like there's an interesting one that you could pick your brain over later about like, do you think the Shadowlands has a different like time scope? So if we go to the Shadowlands within like 2 years after this, then like
people
the
have
next
asked it before.
If it's like
it doesn't work similar like the Twisting Nether,
or like Interstellar when they went down to the planet for like 30 minutes and they came back up and it was like years later in the space station. Like, will we come back to Azeroth, decades later? I don't know. That's one for you to tinfoil over. But this, I want to go to Nobbel on this one first. It's still gameplay systems style because I want to see. The GCD keeps coming up. And about like that's one of the core parts of what people still don't have fun with in how we're playing the game and how our classes are played is not fun because there are still some GCD things people are still hung up on. I actually had a conversation about this last night on stream, but Nobbel, from your side of things, because you played more than just your Paladin, do you even really notice any of the GCD stuff anymore?
I don't play more than my Paladin because I refuse to get essences. On my Paladin, I noticed it with my bubble. Like, my bubble was always this massive panic button. And now if I just used an ability and I try to use it, it's like, nah, you gotta wait a second.
Yep.
That's the major thing that I notice it. I will say, though, if you've played Classic for a little bit and then you pop back over to Retail, it feels like you're playing on hyperdrive. It's all so fast. But for me personally, I noticed it on my bubble.
And then, Mike, I don't know if we want to dive into this because I actually brought this up last night for a while, and there's a couple of things that are still on the GCD, I guess, that are super annoying, but at the same time, other ones that are on, I still think that's fine them to be on. I don't know. I don't think they need to take everything back off the GCD again, unless you
Depends
think
on the
differently.
class.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on the class. Some classes suffer worse with the GCD than others. Some classes, like my class, barely notices it. The most irritating thing I had to deal with on my Moonkin and Shadow Priest is probably just pressing one of the essences. Like Condensed Life Force is a separate spell. I'd rather just bang that in with my DPS cooldown because that's when you would use it, right?
Sure.
So it's just a little inconvenient. But other than some classes suffer with it way worse and get irritated even to this day, whereas other classes seem to have mostly got away with it. And I press the DPS cooldown once every 3 minutes on Essenced. That's not a big deal. Everything else is fine. So it really depends on the class you're playing. So for me personally, there's nothing I would really shout and scream about right now. But I know when I played like a DK, for example, like Frost DK, it really irritated me. But they changed some of those things back, so it's on a class by class basis, that one.
We're just reading back through chat when we were talking about bringing things back. Alter Tying came up. Searing Totem will fix it. Final Thekona came up. Also the
Prismatic Crystal. Do we want Crystal back?
Oh no! Please stop. Gear brought up. Just bringing back abilities isn't enough. If I continue to use just Frostbolt, Ice Lance, Glacial Spike, and Brain Freeze as a Frost Mage for a third expansion in a row, why do I care if they give me Fireball or Fire Blast back? Sure.
Well, we know that won't happen, though. I mean, the Covenant has already shown mages we use as the example. We know that's not the case. They are giving you more stuff. So that is going to happen, and it will be class-specific stuff as well. It might just be temporary buffs, though. It's a possibility. Again, I have this air of pessimism around me. I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't. I wish it was a little bit more excitable, but I'm just holding my breath until we get to play it, because we've been down this road before where we're like, this looks incredible, and then like Legion, everything about Legion when it was announced was like, this is insane. And then we got that notification about how legendaries we were working. We were like, oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. No. So
and yet when talking about it now, people are like, I wish we had the legendary system again.
Just not the acquisition. I think that separation is always made. I think people have been really good about making that separation.
Yeah.
And again, because he even brought that up on stage, like the biggest feedback we had was that you just didn't like how you got them, which is correct.
Yeah.
We hated that. So they're doing something about that. And we're now crafting legendaries, which is great. We never talk about it, but nobody's asked about it either. So sorry for kind of butting in. But professions look like they're going to be really boring. So I'm hoping for more development on that. They just said we're going to change it so you essentially gem which stats you want. Like, what is the point of the whole? Let's hope there's more to it than that. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that was actually a side note question I saw coming up about if you're scared about how the craftable legendaries are going to work. But we don't know enough about them yet. We don't know what sockets they're going to go into. We don't know how customizable they're going to be. We don't know what abilities we're going to choose. The sidebar Blizzard gave us was that those abilities you sort of unlock in your roguelike deck of cards going up Torghast floor after floor, some of those abilities are what you can slap onto your new Shadowlands legendary. But how many can we wear? Again, what slots do they go in? Because if they can be like helm, chest, or legs, that'll be your first go-to, highest stat budget, and then we would assume higher eye level, so that would be a locked piece for a while, part of your whole BIS list. We just don't know.
Do you still use crafted gear at this point in time?
Yeah,
100%.
Boots and pants or gloves.
Yeah, there's a gem slot on it, which is creamy. Yeah. So you're getting idyllic stats and a gem slot. Like crafted gear is amazing right now.
Well,
it's just
idyllic stats after you make it 16 times.
Yeah, which is why he said now you'll just slot your stats in, which is better, 100%. It just means the professions in general. Hopefully that's not just the change to professions. It's like, oh, we fixed this really annoying system and just left them as they were. But right now, crafted items are at least a must for my raiders, especially.
Okay. Yeah, the whole 1 to 50 leveling thing, that's a huge system that has to be understood as well, is that a big part of Shadowlands is the leveling base game rework with Chromie and the new starting experience and the new like end level 10 dungeon kind of thing. But the 1 to 50 leveling up experience, or maybe the 10 to 50, when you pick your spec and you start getting things every single level, you're not going to get a spell every level. It'll be like you unlock new dungeons on this level, and that's your new unlock for that level, right? Unless they really want to throw in just like every freaking thing into the sun to give you back Bind Elemental and Sentry Totem, all this other stuff, then sure, I get it. But again, that's like a big part of the game, and that may only be a thing for a few, a subset of the game, but that's still like the huge selling point of Shadowlands, like the re-evaluating of leveling and how that works and the speed of leveling, because you level from 10 to 50 in one expansion now. So you start Shadowlands. That's a huge part of it.
What would you guys pick?
Oh,
I mean, as
gosh.
you know, I'm a big fan of leveling, but if you let's say you're re-rolling, what expansion would you pick for your leveling experience?
Mists.
I'd go Mist or Draenor for the zone bonus, but I've been playing Howling Fjord today for an upcoming video. Zones in Wrath of the Lich King are insane story-wise and beefy as hell.
Dragonblight was fantastic. Like, I love going into Dragonblight and doing all that.
So story-wise,
this is why it's so good, right? Look at the chat. Everybody's choosing different ones. No one choosing the Burning Crusade. I would do the Burning Crusade.
Burning Crusade is it's almost like it's a classic level. Is pick up 7 quests, go kill 20 mobs here, and pick up 10 gizzards there, and come back.
Burning Crusade is nice though. You got like circles you could constantly do.
Exactly.
So
I could slap on some Netflix. I'm good to go. I'm good to go. I don't have to read where I need to go. There's no fancy rolling down a hill on a barrel or something like that.
Oh gosh.
They just have quest hubs and just fill you with XP.
All right, I want to kick with chat here, but I have some canned questions. This is the really important one. Chat, this is for you. Which one of you is going to make one of your characters of Volpera Master Race when they come out?
They're really well animated. I'm not going to make one, but they're really well animated.
I wish I could. Volpera are awesome as characters, but they don't come in Paladin, do they? So I can't.
And they don't come as Druid. I would be, if my Druid could change, because I hate being a troll, and I can't stand being a Tauren either. I would be a Volpera Druid in a heartbeat.
Yeah, just make a Death Knight Volpera.
You could make,
the animation.
Yeah, well, people
are hating on Volpera just because of the Foxy thing, but just look at how they're animated. And
they're so well animated. I was surprised. I wanted to hate them. Let me put it that way. I wanted to hate them, and then they do flips.
Yeah,
like, I could, how long when I've played Night Elves, how long I've spent just doing flips while people sort stuff out. I just do flips backwards and forwards. It's the best.
And they curl up in a little ball of fur when they sleep. They do the what does the fox say dance. You can make a camp.
They
and just
do
teleport back to your camp. It's great.
And werebears do the dab now, which is they give werebears
the Pee Wee Herman dance. Yeah,
we've got dabbing werebears on the way.
The Tower of Torghast stuff, we talked about it a little bit earlier about how it potentially is a weekly lockout. We don't know. That would be a horrible idea, considering they're toting it as like a roguelite, which means you need to be able to replay it over and over and over and over and over again.
Wouldn't it be like the Mage Tower?
Well, the rewards should be weekly, but the replayability should be ad infinitum.
Yeah. The idea is, from what we were told, is there's of the required content in the game, there's a small amount that is the required will get you the power upgrade, whatever it might be. But you can do as much as you want, but it's going to lead you to cosmetics and things like that. And non-power related upgrades. So it's whichever one you find fun, you can do as much as you want.
Just to confirm and squelch this, we haven't really talked about it, I'm sure, over our channels we have, but Nelly, you asked about in the Shadowlands demo at BlizzCon, how did the talent tree look? The same as live.
Yeah, the demo was just to show
Unchanged.
the zone.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a BFA character minus Azerite essences, anything else. It was just a base flat character, just talent tree. That was it. That was all they gave us.
Yep. We don't know.
Just to show off the zone, which is beautiful, but it can't be stated enough how early in development Shadowlands is. It's not a case of they weren't telling us stuff. They don't know.
Yep.
Like, they don't know genuinely. They don't know the answers to a lot of the questions that we have, and you guys probably have as well. They really have no idea exactly how the Covenant system works. They don't know. They don't know what's really going to be in it yet. That's why we've got a year or so to look over. And as I said, one of the devs did mention to me is that they might have something where they invite people to come early in development and see what's happening, to get early feedback. Hopefully, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be me or anything like that, but it might be some people.
Have they done that before?
Yeah. For both.
Yeah, I mean,
there was the. There was
have they?
There was a Warlord Summit.
Invited to the party, huh?
I was invited to both the Warlord Summit and the Legion one. Didn't get a BFA one, and then something happened to Mike.
The BFA one. I just didn't get to go.
Talent.
Why don't they ask me? I played the game.
Have they confirmed tier sets are not coming back? From all intents and purposes, what we have found out, tier sets are not a thing. Not
Ian
a thing.
hates tier sets. That was
Ian
so
does not
clear
like
when
them. Yeah.
No, and he's not wrong in what he says. It's just that we've not yet seen the better alternative. He thinks you can get the same stuff from other sources and free up your armor slots, which is true because you can get that from covenants and things, and soulbinds especially. You can get those kind of bonuses from there. It's just that when they took them out for BFA, we didn't see a better example in the game than tier sets. That doesn't mean they're not going to do aesthetic ones, though. He was kind of okay with that. He just didn't like the idea of bonuses, like class aesthetics armor sets. I think he said that in the Q&A with Taliesin. So aesthetically, they're on board, but not with bonuses.
Well, we don't know yet. Obviously, there are 4 armor sets, 1 for each armor type per covenant. We don't know if they're going to have additional layers. We obviously know there are multiple backs that we're working on, right? And Taliesin was so just all aboard the putting a tombstone on your back. So he's all about that. But how many variations of the tombstones? Are we going to have other bits and pieces that aren't just like on your backpack? That might be the only hook they can work on. So we don't know how much other cosmetic stuff they're going to do.
But they could go mad with it like they did with the artifact skins. They could really go crazy with back graphics, which are non-power related, and I am so on board. If they want to come out with just cosmetics for backs and things like that, fine. That's so cool. People grind all day and it doesn't disrupt the balance. It doesn't make people feel pigeonholed. That's fine.
This one is kind of for Nobbel. Who do you think will be the next war chief?
We're not doing war chief, are we? We're doing council, right?
Yeah, it's the Horde Council now, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. All hail the Horde Council with everybody who has a voice. But if it was up to me, I would just bring Vol'jin back because I did him dirty. He became war chief and didn't do anything. So just bring Vol'jin back. Let him do it.
Let Bolvar do it, right?
Bolvar.
He's really established
Bolvar
character.
Former Alliance hero Bolvar, now Lich King, becomes the. Although leader of the Forsaken.
See, he's got a lot of political credentials. He's been a king, you know.
Oh, he's been a king, has he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lich King.
Do you not know the law? Allow me to fill you in.
Oh gosh.
So he had this
one question: where does Susan fill in?
Are we going to see her in the Shadowlands? What a twist!
Is she dead?
I mean, after what happened, yeah.
I thought she survived, man.
Oh, no way.
No.
After a party like that, and he was there. I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come up in chat that I'm sort of skimming through. A couple of people talking about, how come Classic is so popular? They have to learn something from that. Well, they are in the gearing department, but they can't make combat Classic combat. That's a whole game restructure. They can't do it. They're not going to change how just viscerally slow things are. That's a Classic thing. And as popular as Classic is, with layering removed now, there are still a couple of realms that have server queues, but that still means that like each server is still roughly only 3,000 people max. So we don't know how many people are. Oh yeah, for sure.
Our realm is bad. It is still on 2 layers.
It
disappears in phase 2. It's going to be bad. I know it.
It's going to be long.
Well,
queues.
to be fair, it was Sunday today and no queue. That was the first time that ever happened.
Yeah, we're still on 2 layers though.
Yeah.
You saw what happened when we went to Mortal Core today. We traveled 120 strong to get in past the alliance, which is fun as hell, by the way, because you can't. Actually, the biggest upset I had recently, something I certainly hope they fix in Shadowlands, is I played Classic non-stop, and I don't mean to turn this into a Classic versus Live thing, but more of a. I hope this gets rectified in Shadowlands.
Yeah.
I then went to Nazjatar. Nobody around me, nothing, just lagged like hell because somewhere something was happening, and the game was just like crawling. I was like, I was literally just in Molten Core with a war going on in the Blackrock Mountain with at least 200-300 people fighting, and it was fine. I just walked them through, and I managed to get through eventually. And it's like, I really hope they fix that lag in BFA. If it means dialing back random procs, please do it.
Yeah.
Right. If that is the problem, please dial that back.
I mean, you and I both talk about that. You're talking about random procs. You're talking about all the other just crap your character does that you have no control over. That's one thing they could take from Classic. Like, people see things like, bring back Wind Fury Totem for Shaman. You're not going to notice Wind Fury Totem right now. It doesn't do anything. It just, like, does damage. Because you have does damage, you have your weapon enchants going off, you have your Azerite traits going off, you have your trinkets going off, you have your... I'm just saying. But if all of that...
Watch your mouth, Bay.
I'm saying, if all of that gunk wasn't there, then you would notice Wind Fury, but you can't notice it in the current landscape of the game because there's so much other garbage that happens.
Whatever.
Wow.
This man next to me really wants his Wind Fury totems back.
Yeah,
I
looks
like
like
my
it.
Wind
Just
Fury.
so much fun.
Yeah.
Not that crappy haste thing either.
Yeah. So this one came up a little bit too, because this year's BlizzCon was actually a banger compared to 2018, which is sure. Are we ready for the BlizzCon 2020 mobile games edition?
Yeah.
Bro. Well, I'm not there next year, so do what you want.
Yeah.
I found it funny though that there was no mention of Diablo Immortal at the convention, at least none that I heard.
It had
Well,
a booth
yeah.
by the door in, and there were lines.
Oh really?
It was popping off.
Yeah, I'm saying, man, that game is gonna be like, I know it's all funny and stuff like that. Like the presentation was awesome, but
Sure.
mobile games bring in so much money, and I wouldn't say no to people have been suggesting a WoW like Pokemon thingy where you can capture like battle pets and shit.
Yep, there's a lot of talk about that. A lot of talk about that.
I mean, why
but-
wouldn't they, right?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Diablo, I mean, I don't know if you heard the story, but I accidentally ended up talking to the CEO of Blizzard.
Yeah.
He
Whoops.
he didn't tell me, to be fair. He didn't tell me until after he'd started digging deeper on my thoughts of BlizzCon.
Wait. To clarify, not the CEO of Blizzard, but the China department, right? Over in
He's the CEO. He's the chief executive officer of Blizzard for all of Asia.
all of Asia.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so all of Asia. And he was asking me about Diablo and stuff, and I said, you just announced it at the wrong place. That was the issue. Like,
Exactly.
and that's why they boycotted it last year. And as you can see now, once you've given people Diablo 4, which is what they really wanted, everybody, like Nobbel said, everybody loved Diablo Immortal after that. They were all playing it. Like, there was literal queue. And they never mentioned it. They didn't say a thing. And they, in fact, probably expected something bad to happen. So they had a tiny little booth that had like 8 iPads to play it on, and the queues were everywhere to get into it. So it was just a case of people are fine with it as long as the PC version, which is what they really want, is coming as well. So it was nice to see, actually. People were like, okay, we'll play it now. Now you give us Diablo 4, we'll give it a go.
And that's the mistake they made. Like they didn't mention Diablo development, even though apparently they were, according to an interview afterwards. Not to mention, and then the questionnaire where they just lost it, and it's like, don't you have phones? Please play your game.
Well, they did.
Yeah.
Again, the guy was upset because he was like, and we did tell everybody there wasn't going to be a Diablo 4 announcement. I said, nobody believes what you're telling them. Like,
Yeah.
before BlizzCon, especially when you have a Diablo style trailer playing, right? That, you know, all that hope and dream is going to come straight back. So I did, you know, he was like, yeah, we kind of screwed it, but we think we nailed it this year, which they did. Like, overall, it was really good.
The opening up BlizzCon with the Diablo 4 trailer was a brilliant move. Like, oh yeah, we fucked it up last year, but here you go. Here's what you want.
Yeah.
Well, they nailed it time after time. There was barely anything they announced. So it's just strange because the first thing you said to me, Nobbel, was that was the crowd really quiet, which it wasn't.
I thought
more
everybody was
about it.
hangover as fuck.
I don't think they had mics over the audience, probably because of the Hong Kong thing, in case people just started shouting and screaming out. So
No, but not even
room.
sounds or whatnot. But you have like this little. You gotta imagine, like if you watch it with a ticket, you can watch it back. Sometimes the camera will panel out into the audience to show like audience reaction. And every time they did, there was somebody sitting like this, or somebody like, I'm really angry about this. There was nobody sitting like, oh my god, there was no excitement at all. But according to you guys, that's just because the camera dude just couldn't find the people for it.
Well, not really. I don't know. I mean, in our section, certainly for the opening ceremony, but I mean, we had like Quinn and stuff in our section.
Yeah, we
So
did.
Diablo 4 was announced. I mean, he was like in the ceiling, right? It was just this crazy rat dangling from the ceiling, screeching as Diablo 4 came out. And then, like I said, when during the WoW trailer, it was the same, especially when the sky cracked. Like the whole room was up in arms for that, but I assume you're watching that. For the Overwatch 2 stuff, I would say the Overwatch 2 stuff didn't get as much of a reaction as I thought it would.
The cinematic did.
Yeah, the cinematic did, which they'll definitely be playing, but afterwards, not really. But other than, and again, the Heroes of the Storm stuff, probably the same. But for the WoW and Diablo stuff, it was definitely crazy. It was really good. I mean, every panel was crazy. Except when we booed during the flying question during the Q&A. They really pushed flying, and everyone was like, boo! Boo.
I'm gonna be here. I don't mind it. I don't mind the system right now. I quite enjoy playing the game and unlocking flying over time.
I don't mind it as much as if they embraced it and it made some sense. I did a recent video on it. I wish it made some sense Like if it made any logical sense in the game, I'd probably be okay with it, but it doesn't, and it bothers me why I have to get exalted with an underwater faction 10,000 years old so I can fly somewhere else. Like it
So
really bugs me.
So you're familiar enough with the open skies to fly it. That's why.
I need the okay of the water people to fly.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I don't dig it. I don't dig it at all. It's just so gamey. Which is like we haven't even talked about the Mythic box. And I don't think people have really brought that up enough. Is that they're giving us options now for your weekly Mythic Plus box, which is fantastic. It's like that's so much better. It's gamey as hell. Like it makes so little sense. They could do it in a better way, but compared to what we have now with the box of disappointment, that's considerably better.
Yeah, if it works out that way, because they said it's like this, all these different things, but then people were wondering about, is it going to include like raid loot? Are we going to get like the raid mission to come back? Because we just lost those magically this expansion. Is it going to only give you a loot pool from the keys you do or from all the dungeons? Because that could be a thing. You could like target what you want, just like run keys from the dungeon you want to give you loot from that dungeon or something like that. Like how far is that going to go for giving us agency? Because if you really want something from, you really want the Balefire branch, but you keep getting 3 or 4 or 5 options from stuff you don't need, is that really going to help you gear your character? So, yeah.
I never know why they didn't give us a map or something, like a pilfer mission from the box that you send followers on a targeted way of, I want you to try and steal something from this dungeon or something like that. You know, somewhere so you can sort of position it a little bit better or feel like you're targeting something in some way. Because I feel like it's going to cut like Hearthstone cards. You know, when you open a pack and the cards just appear. Like I think it's going to put with like a cloak or legs or something like that, and you can have the option to like, well, you know, this is a wash or something like that.
Yeah.
When the follower system is right there to say, I want to try and send my followers out that I've geared up and I've done all this. Although they didn't mention whether the follower system's returning, in any way capacity, right? I don't.
Yeah, we haven't heard about mission tables. We haven't heard about the whole follower thing because we've been confirmed. The Soulbind stay. The Soulbind's essentially like an artifact in the Netherlight Crucible in an NPC form that you talk to that has stories, but it stays in your Covenant house. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go with you out of the world. So,
yeah. I just think they could, because that's my problem with flying, and that is it just doesn't make any sense. Certainly, if it just pops up with pick an item, I would rather they use the follower mission in some way to make it targeted.
Did buying just straight up buying with gold? Did that make sense? Buying
what with gold?
Flying.
Well, it did when it was cold weather flying. You had to learn the book to do it. That made sense for that situation. I mean, it's a simple mechanic, but it made sense that you had to teach them how to fly in the cold weather. And there's always
say that they do the achievement that they have right now, right? So you complete the achievement, but instead you go to a flight master who teaches you how to do it. Then it would be okay.
No, because personally, what I would wish they would do is abandon the whole Pathfinder system and embrace flying as something cool that happens along your journey to level cap. Certainly, if it's a case of
level cap, okay.
Yeah, it certainly is. Like as long as like they did in the Burning Crusade, is they created areas that were inaccessible until you had flying, and they did the same in Wrath of the Lich King.
I wish they did that more, man. Why not?
Yeah, because that's where they embraced it. So you look at areas like Storm Peaks and Ice Crown, which are designed only with people who can fly in mind. Like you can't get there otherwise, right? Without doing something silly.
Yeah.
And therefore they got to do really fun things creatively with it. And the Shadowlands is somewhere they can design from the ground up to be whatever they want to be. That's why I said when I went to Bastion and I saw all these floating cities and things, I was like, oh, they're going to embrace flying again. They've actually created areas that are for capped players that you can fly to and are really cool.
Maybe you can earn your wings so you can like flap to the islands.
So they could tie it into covenants or something along those lines, because it's not hard to come up with a gamey reason why you can't fly in the realm of the dead without somebody showing you how it works in the ethereal whatever, right? That's the gamey reason for that. It's equally as justifiable as cold weather flying, and then do something along those lines. I'd rather, it feels like a burden to me. And I think they treat it like a burden. Like we have to do it because the players are whinge. So we have to find a way to stick it in somewhere. So it feels like they hate it, and it comes across to us like they really don't like it, but they're going to give it to us because they're going to moan. I don't like that feeling about it. Does that make sense? Because it feels like they resent having to give it to us, so they lock it away until you've done all their content. Like they decide you have to do all this.
No, to me it feels like finding a middle ground in it, because you got the crowd that's like, I really want flying. You got the crowd that's really, I want to stay on the ground. And now they're like, okay, you can play through our content, then you get to fly. Rather than you get flying right at the start and you can just skip all the content, or you're stuck to the ground and you're never going to fly. So for me, it feels like a middle ground.
Who does that appease though? In the middle,
Me?
how you? But
Me?
you do. Right. So I mean, it's not one way or the other, right? I guess that's my point. It's not like you can either do it this way or do it that way. There are lots of other ways of doing it, like we've seen in the past. Like in Wrath, we got it at like 68, I think, and TBC we got it at 70. So they let it. So you did play the content. You had to do that, and then they opened up the world, both Storm Peaks and Night's Crown, to go and do those zones. And then in TBC, they opened up like areas of the Netherstorm and Shadowmoon Valley with the floating islands that were off in the distance, which were like the next level in the story. And you'd already played through those zones. Like you'd done the same thing. You played through the zones. Exalted with Reputation. I mean, what did we get from, let's look at Nazjatar. What did we get from Nazjatar we didn't get in the first 2 weeks by making it till Exalted?
Well, maybe not the first 2 weeks, but say with Nazjatar, for example, for me, getting flying in Nazjatar felt really rewarding because it was such a pain in the ass to get around on the ground, because you could sense it was designed with flying in mind, so you could easily get like the upper levels. So for me, it felt nice to be like, okay, I got my reputation done, I've done through the content, now I unlocked flying, and I get an easier time at World Quest and all the other stuff that I still want to do in Nazjatar.
Nice or a relief? Because that sounds more like relief.
I mean, a similar thing can be said between leveling a classic for. Some would say it's a relief to hit max level, and some would say it's rewarding to hit max level because, you know, it feels painful to get there.
I guess so. It's just that I personally, I see where you're coming from with that, but I personally feel like they don't like it and they wish it wasn't in the game, and I understand why they feel that way. But it is here, like it is staying, so they could get on board with it. Well, Mechagon started with flying essentially. Like
Mechagon had like the jetpacks. That was awesome, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Mechagon was like, you want flying? Here's how it feels like.
Here's how it feels like.
I didn't feel that felt like it was missing out on something because we had it from the start. Like that made that zone far more enjoyable as far as I was concerned. Is that flying from the start essentially?
Let's try to bring this back together because we are a little bit over 2 hours, but there's a lot of questions in chat that came up, so hopefully you guys can like find Nobbel, find Mike on their streams, bring it up as conversations for them to go about, because obviously we can't keep going. Important question for Nobbel. This is a staple of the show. Nobbel, do you still not put cream in your coffee?
No, black, of course. Why would you put anything in your coffee? You're drinking coffee.
There you go.
Easy.
The internet wanted to know. I'm just checking.
Good man.
It's an important
really
question.
Important question right there.
And then I guess that was Nobbel kind of hinted at this earlier, but what race will your Death Knight be in the next patch when every race can be Death Knights? Nobbel, you're going to go Volpera, you said.
No, probably Pandaren, because in my imagination, like a fat Death Knight is amazing.
Okay, yeah.
So Kultiran then?
Kultiran is more muscular than like bouncy and fat like a Pandaren is.
I've not seen any Kultirans in game. Like I don't know, but it's just
I go.
I mean, I'm one.
Oh, the most beautiful transmog as well, with like fish as weapons and like no shirt on. It's great. It's mwah.
I never bump into them even with war mode. I don't see any big chunky men running at me.
To be fair, I see very little people in game these days anyway, so you know.
That's fair.
I'm still lagging. There must be somebody somewhere.
Mike, what race are you?
I mean, to be fair, my realm is dead. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, Mike, what race is your Death Knight gonna be?
Undead.
It could already be a Death.
He is already undead. Staying as he is.
We're talking about the new one.
I don't want the new ones. I don't care.
Well, okay.
I don't want a Volpera.
I'll raise you a question then. With the new racial customizations coming in Shadowlands, are you going to be a bony boy, or are you going to be just a zombie with all your bones intact inside your skin?
No, definitely more. It's the animations I like, so definitely less as bony boy. The less I look like a chicken McNugget, the better. For real. I already choose very undead looking undead as much as I possibly can.
Okay. Awful. Just terrible. But okay. I think
You're a Kultiran.
I am.
You're good enough.
My shaman's a female Kultiran right now. No, I sold out for gifted subs. They said, hey, Florida boy, race change female Kultiran. Do what you won't.
That means there's hope for lips.
I
Oh,
think it's
crap!
the same thing.
We've come full circle. Oh no. Mike, send us out of here. Give me your last bit of your closing shout-outs, remarks, soapbox. Take us home.
I'm going to say Shadowlands, everything I saw at BlizzCon was very promising, really promising. I was really happy with everything they announced. We're obviously lacking the meat of how everything's going to work, so I'm cautiously optimistic, is what I would say. But everything so far sounds really good. I don't say that easily after BFA, but I'm pretty excited about it. I can't wait to see how it's going, and I'm happy it's very early in development as well. I know it feels like a long way away. It does for me too, but the longer they spend trying to get it right rather than what we rushed in BFA, the better. So cautiously optimistic.
Sounds good. Nobbel, closing thoughts.
For me, after listening to you guys, I'm a lot more excited about Shadowlands than I was from the BlizzCon presentation. So hearing that actually sounds really, really good. I'm on board. I'm optimistic. Shadowlands, a lot of potential. And I think when it comes to BlizzCon, that's all we can really hope for, potential. I can't wait to see what they have in mind when it comes to storylines, what characters are going to bring back, where all these little plot threads are going to go. I'm excited to find out. But first, we got LIL'FINAL is off to go, so there's also that.
Which looks awesome.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we're all like future casting ourselves like 10 months down the road, but we literally have 6 weeks. January 7th is my date, or the 14th for LIL'FINAL 8.3. They're going back to Oldham. I love Oldham. It's a great zone.
Oh, the outdoor content sucks. Sorry.
No, it's not great. I said the zone. I didn't say the content.
Yeah, the zone looks nice. Yeah, it does look nice.
Have they fixed it since PTR, by the way? Or is it still
I
just
haven't
fill up the
checked
bar?
since before BlizzCon, unfortunately. I haven't checked, but
Yeah.
hopefully they've done some improvements there.
It's
But
not
the rate looks extraordinarily good. We've seen this off now.
Yes. I've seen the screenshots. I don't know if I can pull one up real quick here.
If you play the first 2 seconds of my last video, you can see it in person.
That is also true. Yeah, I've seen that. Where's the picture? Oh, here it is.
Is it true that you're going to ride tentacles?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really fun. Yeah, it's because it would not. There you go. Look at that guy.
Holy crap! Yeah.
What a beautiful man.
Well,
so I'm gonna imagine this is like the skybox, and then you fight below this. Then
yes.
That's just below that tentacle is the entrance inside him.
Oh my god!
So the pre-fight to this is the Fury of N'Zoth, which is a 3-phase fight taking you deep inside. So each phase takes place in a different area outside his body as you work further in. Yeah, it's really cool.
It definitely looks awesome. Looks very good. I think that's going to do it for us, of course. Find these nerds online. But I'm going to hit this button real quick here. Actually, before I hit this button, there was a question that came up in chat, Mike. I don't know if we can really talk about this. We know for a long, long time that we've been asking for... We get synced expansion launches. But for us as raiders...
We can't talk about this.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Hit the button then. All right, there he is. There is Mike Preach Wow over on YouTube, or of course, still Preach LFW on the Twitch. Mike, thank you very much. For what?
Still, he's still looking for work.
He's still looking for work. Yeah, still looking for. Did you find work yet?
No. I just read this morning YouTube's going to probably cancel my channel. Yeah.
Oh no. But Mike, thank you for hanging out with me so much at BlizzCon, making videos. We were kind of stuck together for a little bit there. We did a lot of things. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The whole experience was amazing.
Really little too much Emma. You know, just tell her to stay home.
I mean, I did marry her. It's my wife you're talking about. That's fisticuffs.
That's awesome. So go check him out if you're not already doing the same thing. This is Nobbel over here. He does things on the YouTube as well. Nobbel87, or at Twitch at Nobbel87. I see a trend here. Is it also Nobbel87 on Twitter?
And Pornhub and Instagram
whoa.
and the other places. You know. Hi YouTube, I'm trying to get this one demonetized as well. I'm taking out the competition.
Oh no. Go check out these beautiful boys. And of course, my name was Adam K. Bay. I run this little shindig, FinalBossTV. Links down below if you missed, of course, the main show. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, audio-only version will be coming out. YouTube version will go up usually about 24 hours after the main show. Yeah. Check out Wowpedia. got a whole bunch of stuff on it. Of course, Wowhead for all the news stuff. I was pulling a lot of the images from Wowpedia today because they have the giant Shadowlands post. And then closing shout out to my sponsors, Corsair. Thank you very much for letting me do this kind of stuff and keep doing these things going into the future and helping me out with the new PC build that I get to use soon. Then I'll have more audio controls and things like this and maybe soundboards. I don't know, memes in that regard. That's how this works. But thank you very much for watching. Next week should be Vengeance Demon Hunter, followed by Holy Paladin, followed by some DPS after that, then followed by the year-end special, and then we'll see. If you haven't picked up what I'm putting down, there's no way I'll be able to get through every single spec in BFA, but I don't think that really matters because beta will be more important for Shadowlands. So stay tuned for all of that. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Episode number 201. And have fun with your tentacles. Bye, everybody. Bye. Wave. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, there's...
I was full tentacles. My mind is elsewhere now.
I know, you totally threw me. You threw me for sure.
Yeah, well, you know.